Chapter 1491. The Longhua ancestor wanted to open up a pure land for the spirit demon clan. To be honest, several people, including Lu Ping, did not agree with it. It was not that Lu Ping did not support it, but as the three people had said before, Lu Ping did not think that without the Longhua ancestor, everything in the parish secret land could still be preserved. Unless the parish secret land could establish a perfect spirit demon inheritance system like the human clan sections. However, the spirit demon clan was different from the human clan and the demon clan. The human clan and the demon clan could awaken their spiritual wisdom on their own, but the spirit demon clan could only rely on luck to awaken their spiritual wisdom on their own. Therefore, it was extremely difficult for the spirit demon clan to achieve this. The Longhua ancestor obviously understood the meaning of the three people's words. He smiled and said, "I want you to restrain the disciples of the sect not to protect the spirit demon clan, but to avoid the deaths and injuries of the cultivators in your sect." Seeing the slightly stunned expressions of the three people, the Longhua ancestor smiled and said, "The old man has been in the parish secret land for more than 30,000 years. Because of the existence of the sky wall of poison, he could not summon the thunder retribution, so he could not completely break away from the shackles of his body. In order to pass the boring time, the old man has also taught many of the younger generation in the secret land. Their cultivation has accumulated enough, and the only thing they need is to experience the thunder retribution to break away from the shackles of their bodies." Lu Ping had entered the parish secret land and saw the original body of the Longhua ancestor, but he had never seen the existence of other spirit demons. Now that he thought about it, it was obviously deliberately done by the Longhua ancestor. But now that the sky wall of poison has completely fallen into the control of the old man, some of the younger generation who have received guidance from the old man can summon the thunder retribution at any time and transform into human form. Although the old man's original body could not leave the sky wall of poison, he once traveled the world with his incarnation. Within 100 years, the parish secret land can produce more than 20 Dharma adepts, many of whom are at the pure yang level. In this world, this is equivalent to an existence close to a holy land. It can completely establish its own clan in the East Sea. What do you think? The three of them were all shocked. Within 100 years, the parish secret land could produce more than 20 Dharma adepts. If it had been anyone else, the three would have scoffed. If it had been someone else, they would have been disdainful. However, from the existence in front of them, they would have been convinced. However, after thinking about it carefully, it seemed that what the Longhua ancestor said was not impossible. The spirit demon clan was originally a plant, wood, bamboo, and stone that absorbed the spirit chi of heaven and earth and gained sentience. Although the speed of cultivation was far inferior to that of humans and demons, the spirit demon clan also had a long lifespan that humans and demons could not compare to. The Longhua ancestor had been operating in the parish secret land for 30,000 years, and he said that he was a creature that Jiao Daoran had personally created and even inherited Jiao Doran's own memories. To a certain extent, the Longhua ancestor could even be considered a clone of Jiao Daoran. It was just that this clone now seemed to have its own sentience and consciousness, and had broken away from Jiao Doran's control. It was naturally not surprising that such an existence could plot such a situation. However, when the three of them heard what the Longhua ancestor said, although they were all shocked, their expressions were different. Lu Ping's own surprise was more than his other thoughts. Although the rise of the spirit demon clan would have a major impact on Donghai, and even the entire cultivation world, for Zhenling, who dominated the North Sea cultivation world, this impact was not strong. Moreover, with the friendship between Lu Ping and the Longhua ancestor, the rise of the spirit demon clan would have a minimal impact on Zhenling. Compared to Lu Ping, the expression on Yuan Jiao Laozu's face was somewhat ugly. For a long time, the Crystal Palace had dominated Donghai. Although there were several sects that hindered them, the situation in Donghai had always been firmly in the hands of the Crystal Palace. The Crystal Palace's control of the situation had also reached its peak after the collapse of the Northern Alliance. At this time, the Crystal Palace had destroyed the Northern Alliance, split the sky, invaded North Sea, and entered the central mainland with monstrous power. Even the Holy Land of the central mainland was very afraid of the Crystal Palace, and did not dare to confront it head-on. They could only support the coastal sects behind the scenes to stop the invasion of the Crystal Palace. However, after the collapse of the Northern Alliance, Xiao Baiyu, who had been dormant for 200 years, suddenly returned with a pure yang body. Soon, the Crystal Palace suffered a series of setbacks in North Sea, and the expansion of the central mainland also stagnated. After that, the 5 major sects joined forces. Not only did the Crystal Palace's influence in the central mainland suffer a great setback, even the Donghai, which was regarded as the backyard of the Crystal Palace, was invaded one after another. Tianxian sect, Tianwei sect, and Jinling's influence entered Donghai one after another. Even so, the Crystal Palace still had the upper hand in Donghai. Until the 10 pure Yangs joined forces to destroy the 9 mystical tower, the situation of the entire cultivation world changed drastically. Only then did the Crystal Palace realize the coming crisis when the 9 mystical towers' inheritance of the real soul was leaked. Skyrend, Jinling, Tianxian sect, and Tianwei sect all obtained the inheritance of the 9 mystical tower. However, these 4 sects all had incomparable advantages compared to other large sections. Especially when Skyrend obtained the 9 mystical towers' mini-kiliacosm. Seeing that a new Holy Land sect was about to be born in Donghai, the Crystal Palace had no choice but to take the risk. They took advantage of the opportunity when the Yuan Huayan Laozu achieved the real soul and tried to kill Xiao Baiyu and Lu Tianping with the help of 2 real soul cultivators. Unexpectedly, the Crystal Palace's plan still failed in the end. Not only was Xiao Baiyu forced to achieve the real soul, but Lu Tianping also broke through the sky poison wall and released an even more terrifying existence. Moreover, this Longhui ancestor wanted to build another force in Donghai that could rival the Holy Land. The rise of the spiritualist clan was bound to weaken the Crystal Palace's interests in Donghai. Even so, it had a direct impact on Skyrend. However, this was the most unacceptable for the Crystal Palace, which had always regarded Donghai as their own backyard. Compared to the Yuan Huayan Laozu's ugly expression, Xiao Baiyu's expression was also full of solemnity. However, they both knew that in front of such a powerful Longhui ancestor, they had to accept this condition. At least when the Longhui ancestor was still in this world, no one could stop the rise of the spiritualist clan. Could it be that this Longhui ancestor also had a mini-kiliacosm or other means to escape from the exclusion of this world? Xiao Baiyu's heart skipped a beat. If the Longhui ancestor was really a bloodline clone of Jiao Daoren, then this person should be treated as an immature Jiao Daoren. Therefore, it was not surprising that the Longhui ancestor had such means. While the cultivation world of the East Sea was similarly vast, compared to the Central Plains, it was already at its limit to withstand the combined forces of the 3 Holy Lands, Water Crystal Palace, Jade Sea Spirit Serpent, and Heavenly Splitting Sword sect. If the Spirit Yao clan, which was on par with the Holy Lands, were to be added to the mix, then the rich East Sea would become lacking in various cultivation resources. Under the pressure of the 5 sects previously, the Crystal Palace seemed to be restrained everywhere. However, most of the important resources that were related to the lifeblood of the cultivation world of Donghai were still controlled by the Crystal Palace. After Xiao Baiyu became a true spirit, Skyrend was bound to be unable to get help from the other 4 sections. It could only rely on its own strength to compete with the Crystal Palace. But now, with the addition of the spiritualist clan, Xiao Baiyu also had a resentment towards Lu Ping for no reason. Why did he break the heavenly poison wall for no reason? Xiao Baiyu also knew that this resentment was really unreasonable. Not to mention that Lu Ping was on the verge of death when he was chased by the Yuan Jiao Laozu. He had no choice but to seek the help of the Longhui ancestor. Even if Lu Ping did not break the heavenly poison wall in the end, there would be people like Zhang Ping and Li Ping who would break the seal later. Perhaps Donghai was still too small for the Sky-Splitting Sword sect. Perhaps it was time for the Sky-Splitting Sword sect to turn its attention to the Central Plains. The Sky-Splitting Sword sect was originally a sect from the Central Plains. Even though it had moved overseas for many years, the sky-splitting sword sect had never forgotten its origins. Otherwise, Xiao Baiyu would not have attacked the Purple Sun Palace alone. However, if it entered the central mainland now, although there was a power vacuum after the destruction of the 9 Xuanwu Tower, at this time, whether it was Tianxian sect, Tianhua sect, Wishing School, Skyward Pavilion, Lingyun Valley, or other forces of the central mainland, they were all constantly infiltrating the power vacuum of the 9 Xuanwu Tower. At this time, if Skyren intervened forcefully, if it did not seize the opportunity, it was very likely that it would backfire. Not only would it fall out with Tianxian sect and Tianhua sect, it might even cause the forces of the central mainland to give up fighting and unite against the foreign forces. A few words from Longhua ancestor had caused the two celestial spirits, Laozu, to think so much. It might even cause a huge upheaval in the cultivation world in the future. However, at this time, Longhua ancestor obviously would not consider the feelings of Laozu and Xiao Baiyu. Longhua ancestor informed the two celestial spirits of his plan. Then, he said to Lu Ping, "Lu Xiaoyu, please come to the Fallen Secret Land for a chat. Since the two of you have become celestial spirits, come and listen." Lu Ping smiled at the two of them and casually threw out a talisman. The talisman flickered and disappeared into the void. Both Laozu and Xiao Baiyu looked at each other, and each sent out a talisman. Then, they followed behind Lu Ping and Longhua ancestor to the 1,000-poisoned sky wall that had risen again. In the Phantom Palace, the expressions of Yuan Feng Laozu, Tsengyu Laozu, and Jiang Tianlin changed. They each stretched out their hands to receive a talisman. After reading the contents, the three of them had different expressions. Just as the cultivators of the various sects in the hall were secretly speculating about the reason behind these three decrees, Ancestor Tsengyu was the first to sigh and said, "I believe the two of you understand the whole story of today's matter. Do you have any objections?" Who could have any objections to the tone set by two celestial spirits, Laozu, and a pure Yang? Who dared to have any objections? Everyone cursed in their hearts. Jiang Tianlin smiled and said, "In that case, let's do as the three of you said." Yuan Feng Laozu snorted coldly. His face was extremely pale, but he did not dare to say anything in the end. The Crystal Palace's plan to hunt them down eventually failed. This time, the Crystal Palace had undoubtedly suffered the greatest loss in the distribution of the Spirit Stone mine on the Phantom Island. The distribution plan was finalized. The 10 sects, including the Crystal Palace, divided the giant Spirit Stone mine on the Phantom Island. Among them, the Crystal Palace's share was reduced from 40% to 30%, while Skyrend and Jinling each took 10% of the original share of the Crystal Palace. However, Skyrend's strength was originally above Jinling's. Although they each got 10%, Skyrend's total share was still more than Jinling's. These three sects occupied 60% of the giant Spirit Stone mine in one fell swoop, while the remaining 7 large sects divided the remaining 40%. Originally, Jinling and Skyrend's plan was to gain the support of the other large sections. They only wanted to take 20% of the Crystal Palace's share, while the 3 sects only wanted 50% of the entire mine. Of course, the Crystal Palace strongly opposed it. In the end, they were only willing to give up 10% of the share. However, how could that satisfy the appetite of the other 2 sects? Helplessly, the 3 sects could only cooperate with each other to take away 10% of the share from the other 7 sections. The other 7 sects dared not to say anything even though they were angry. In fact, the 3 sects, including the Crystal Palace, were quite scrupulous about this blatant way of bullying the 7 sections. At the beginning, none of the 3 sects wanted to be the bad guy. Jinling and Skyrend insisted that their respective 10% shares should be taken from the Crystal Palace. If the Crystal Palace wanted to keep 30% of the share, they had to get 10% from other shares. The implication was that they wanted the Crystal Palace to be the scapegoat for offending the 7 sections. Of course, Yuan Feng Laozu would not let the 2 sects succeed. He insisted that the Crystal Palace voluntarily give up 10% of the share, and the 2 sects would ask for the remaining 10% from the 7 sects themselves. In the end, after a series of intrigues, the 3 sects finally chose to cooperate with each other and put pressure on the 7 sects together. Together, they occupied 60% of the entire giant spiritual stone mine. In the secret burial ground, as the 4 of them entered the heavenly poisonous wall one after another, Longhua Ancestor took the opportunity to reveal the breath of a spiritual monster with a mysterious space power. The sky was suddenly covered with tribulation clouds. However, the momentum was quite different from what Longhua Ancestor had done before. It was a pine tree that was 1,000 feet tall. Lu Ping carefully watched the process of the tribulation. 9 bolts of tribulation lightning fell in a row. The pine tree spirit managed to resist the tribulation, but Longhua Ancestor quickly closed the heavenly poisonous wall. The breath of the pine tree spirit was covered, and the tribulation clouds in the sky gradually dissipated. Qing Song, who had survived the first thunder calamity, was now at the mid-Dharma stage. His true form was also beginning to take on a human form. A tall and thin middle-aged man broke away from Qing Song's true form and looked around himself excitedly. Only then did he remember to thank Patriarch Longhua. In fact, Lu Ping and the others could see that the pine tree in front of them had accumulated a lot of energy. It was no weaker than a late Dharma adept. However, Longhua Ancestor was obviously protecting the pine tree spirit, and did not allow it to continue summoning the tribulation lightning to advance directly to the late Dharma stage. However, what Lu Ping found strange was that this pine tree spirit did not seem to be able to transform after advancing to the core forging stage like Lu Taohua. Thinking about how Longhua Ancestor's original body had also undergone the tribulation lightning, Lu Ping secretly guessed. Could it be that the Longhua Ancestor's ability is not weaker than a Dharma adept's even though it is not yet a Dharma adept? Could it be that its original body could not transform before the tribulation? Compared to Lu Ping's attention to the spiritual monster's tribulation in the secret burial ground, Spirit Wine Laozu and Xiao Baiyu were obviously more concerned about other things. Spirit Wine Laozu asked with a shocked expression, "Senior, you can actually control the time when the tribulation lightning strikes?" Longhua Ancestor laughed and said, "Although the old man has inherited the memories of Jiao Daoren, he is not the creator of this world. There is no way he can change the rules of this world. All the old man can do is take advantage of a loophole. Once these juniors do not have the old man's heavenly poisonous wall to conceal their aura, they will immediately be punished by the tribulation lightning." Xiao Baiyu sucked in a breath of cold air and said, "This heavenly poisonous wall can conceal the cultivator's perception of the tribulation lightning. Doesn't this mean that this formation is equivalent to a lesser kiliacosm? Senior will not have to worry about being excluded by this world." Longhua Ancestor seemed to have seen through the two's thoughts. He shook his head and said with a smile, "The heavenly poisonous wall is not comparable to a lesser kiliacosm, but it is still personally arranged by Jiao Daoren in the past. The old man has said before that the heavenly poisonous wall still needs the old man's method to conceal the junior's aura. Without the old man's ability to conceal it, even the heavenly poisonous wall will not be able to block the thunder tribulation's perception of the spiritual monster's aura. As for the old man, the old man's existence is too special. If the seal of the heavenly poisonous wall has not been broken, the old man will not have to worry about being excluded by this world. But since the old man has turned into a true spirit, the heavenly poisonous wall will no longer be able to conceal the old man's aura. In the end, he will still be excluded by this world. It's just a matter of time." Chapter 1492. Although Yuanjiu Laozu and the others knew that the Longhua Ancestor would leave this world in the future, when they heard it from the Longhua Ancestor, they secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The Longhua Ancestor did not seem to know what they were thinking. He just said, "This time, the old man asked the 3 of you to come here. In addition to visiting the secret parish site of the spiritual demon clan, the most important thing is to tell you about the North Ice Fields." The thunder tribulation above the poisonous sky wall had not stopped since the 3 of them entered the secret parish site a few days ago. Until now, at least 7 or 8 thunder tribulations had fallen, which meant that the spiritual demon clan had gained 7 or 8 mid-Dharma adepts in just a few days. And looking at the momentum, the thunder tribulation above the poisonous sky wall would continue. Moreover, in the past few days, when the three of them had toured the secret parish site, they had at least discovered several auras that were not weaker than the late Dharma adepts. These spiritual demons had the ability to summon the second thunder tribulation at any time. Lu Ping and the others even felt two auras that were comparable to pure yang adepts. It was just that the spiritual demons that these two auras belonged to did not let the three of them see their true forms, whether intentionally or unintentionally. After a few days, the three of them turned into light and left the secret parish site, but it seemed that they all had a lot on their minds and even had a look of disbelief. Obviously, the three of them had received a lot of incredible news from the Longhua ancestor. And after the three of them left the secret parish site, the Crystal Palace, Skyrend, and Jinling began to send messengers to the major sects and demon tribes in the Central Plains, overseas, the North Ice Fields, the West Wilderness, the Endless Mountains, and other places. A shocking news began to spread among the high-end forces of the cultivation world, and a storm began to slowly brew. As Lu Ping and the others entered the secret zone and the cultivators from the illusionary Spirit Palace were fiercely fighting over the distribution of the Spirit Stone mine, a violent spatial turbulence spread out in all directions hundreds of kilometers northeast of Huangli Island in the North Sea. A spatial entrance slowly opened up and the Seven Stars Grotto Heaven opened up once again. Elder sister, I heard from the seniors in our clan that there will be a big confrontation between Father and the Crystal Palace and other sects when he goes to the Phantom Island this time. Why do you think Father doesn't want us to go there to help him? Instead, he sends an edict to ask us to return to Huangli Island as soon as possible? Lu Hai, who now looked like a young man of 16 or 17 years old, grumbled unwillingly as he rode on the light. Exactly. Lu Linger was eager to see the world in chaos. She said, We have now completely accepted all the inheritance of the green sea snakes, and there will be no obstacles to our cultivation in the future. Even now, we have passed the first thunder calamity and consolidated our cultivation. With the power of the three of us, even if two great practitioners at the late Dharma realm join forces, they will be defeated by us. Do you think the seniors in our clan are forging Father's edict to deceive us? Lu Bai's face darkened and she said, Linger, don't talk nonsense. We have all seen Father's edict. Can't we tell whether it is true or not? Lu Linger pouted and said, I'm just kidding. Elder sister is always so serious. Lu Bai said seriously, Father is now a pure yang practitioner. How many people in the world can be his opponent? But Jinling's foundation is shallow now. If Father is in the North Sea, everything will be fine. What I am afraid of is that someone will take advantage of Father's absence to make trouble. Lu Linger's eyes lit up and she said, Elder sister, you mean there must be a reason why Father asked us to go back to the North Sea? Lu Bai nodded and said, It is very likely. Otherwise, Father is now in the North Sea. Why did he ask us to go back to the North Sea first? Lu Hai rubbed his fists and said, I hope there are some ignorant people who can provide us with entertainment. Lu Bai, who was flying at the front, suddenly stopped. Lu Hai and Lu Linger did not understand and quickly stopped together. Lu Hai asked in confusion, Elder sister, what's wrong? Lu Bai pointed to the front and said, Look there. Lu Linger was surprised and said, Hey, fog? No. That is the sea near Huangli Island. Did something really happen? Lu Hai took a deep breath, and the surrounding spiritual chi vibrated. He seemed to have performed some kind of magic. Then he licked his lips and said, Poisonous, there is poison in the fog. Something really happened. But the taste of this poisonous fog is really good. Let's go, we have work to do. Lu Hai called out the Tai Xian halberd in his hand. At this time, the Tai Xian halberd had been upgraded to a first calamity spirit treasure. Lu Hai held the spirit treasure and plunged into the sea, heading in the direction of Huangli Island. Obviously, he did not care about the poisonous fog in the distance. Lu Linger giggled, turned around beautifully, and turned into a cloud of sparkling snowflakes fluttering up and down. Lu Bai swung her hand, and a long whip made of spirit treasure directly shattered the nearby void with a crisp sound. Then it turned into a cool breeze, rolled up the snowflakes, and disappeared into the sea. At the same time, in the waters near Huangli Island, a few cultivators were secretly gathered together, watching the mist that was gradually rising from the surface of the sea. If Lu Ping were here, he would have seen one or two familiar faces among them. This fog was originally the magical method of the head elder of the family. It is a pity that the head elder died in the Battle of Jiushuan Tower against Mara. Otherwise, the family would not be so anxious to find the source potion of all poisons. The person who spoke was Lu Runjian, a mid-dharma adept of the Lu family, the #1 alchemy family in Central Plains. Brother, now that Jinling is like the sun in the sky in the North Sea, aren't we provoking Lu Tianping by openly setting up the fog near Huangli Island? It is said that Lu Tianping has the 1,000 Wonder Dew and has mastered the 1,000 Poison Meteorite Power Shield. These are all methods to restrain the fog. Now that Lu Tianping is a top expert in the world, if he makes things difficult for the Lu family, wouldn't it be a disaster? Liao Ruingjia, the former head of the Liao family of the North Sea and now a Dharma adept of the Lu family of Central Plains, said with some worry after hearing this. Lu Runjian smiled and said, Brother, don't worry. Jinling can't even take care of himself now, and Lu Tianping's fate in the East Sea is unknown. Our Lu family has never wanted to fight with the Yuan family for the 7-star cave heaven. All we want is the source potion of all poisons in the 7-star cave heaven. At this time, the Yuan family can't wait for us to cause trouble for Jinling. Another Lu family practitioner also nodded and said, Cousin, you are right. Huangli Island is closest to the 7-star cave heaven, and has always been the base for Jinling to send his disciples into the cave heaven. Now, with Jinling's power in the East Sea, if we don't stop it, the 7-star cave heaven will definitely belong to Jinling's disciples. At that time, it will definitely affect the disciples of the family who enter the Golden Valley. In fact, the previous 2 times the 7-star cave heaven opened, it was because of the obstruction of Jinling's disciples that the disciples of the family were unable to find out the whereabouts of the source potion. Lu Runjia was obviously still worried and said, Then what if the Jinling practitioners stationed at Huangli Island want to force their way in? It is said that there are at least 3 Jinling Dharma adepts stationed at Huangli Island. If they force their way in, it will be troublesome. Force their way in? Lu Runjian was amused when he heard this. Then, his words were filled with murderous intent as he laughed coldly and said, If that Jinling doesn't know his place, then we might have to offend Jinling. Seeing Lu Runjia's hesitant expression, Lu Runjian laughed and said, Brother, your disciples have already moved back to Central Plains. This North Sea has nothing to do with the Lu family from now on. What are you still worried about? Lu Runjia forced a smile when he heard this. The haze in his heart still lingered, but seeing that the few Dharma adepts of the family all looked like they had victory in their hands, he could only keep his mouth shut. On Huangli Island, Sky Fox was not far from giving birth. Many matters on Huangli Island were handled by Green Fox. However, at this time, things had happened so suddenly that even Sky Fox did not have time to rest, and came out of the cave to investigate the situation. Is there any news from Tianling Mountain? Sky Fox saw that Green Fox and Sixth Brother Lei, the 2 mid-Dharma adepts, were there and could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. However, Green Tiger and Green Wolf had already been sent to Central Plains by Lu Ping and were not on Huangli Island. Not yet! Green Fox's expression was slightly solemn, but she still comforted him. However, since he had already predicted this before going to East Sea, he must have set up a backup plan. It should be fine. You should rest in peace. However, Sixth Brother Lei said, Since the 7-star cave heaven has opened recently, Jinling has not sent any blood condensation disciples to Huangli Island this time. Did Brother Lu predict this beforehand? Sky Fox signaled to Green Fox that he was not in the way, and then nodded at Sixth Brother Lei. He said, My husband's plan for the 7-star cave heaven is imminent, so there is no need for our sect to send disciples into the 7-star cave heaven to take the risk. However, my husband originally thought that the Lu family would not take such a risk. After all, They have always wanted to enter the seven-star cave heaven's golden canyon. Although our disciples have competed with them in the cave heaven, we have never prohibited them from entering. I did not expect them to make a move, Sixth Brother Lay said thoughtfully. If that is the case, it seems that Brother Lu's encounter in the East Sea is not too good. The Lu family must have sensed it beforehand. Otherwise, with the Lu family's strength, they would not take such a big risk. However, Green Fox said, with his ability, even the true spirit Laozu might not be able to do anything to him. What I am curious about is, did he not set up a backup plan for the Lu family? Sky Fox smiled, and suddenly, 2 jade essence bottles appeared in his hands. He said, Huangli Island's protective formation is strong enough. It is almost impossible for the Lu family to attack Huangli Island by force. However, if they really go to the extreme, with the things in these 2 bottles, they will not have to worry about the poisonous fog. Moreover, if I am not wrong, Samling should be back by now. Green Fox opened the bottle and took a sniff. She raised her eyebrows and smiled. Ha! It is a drop of wonder dew. With this item, one can indeed be immune to all poisons. However, Sixth Brother Lay said, so those 3 little guys are coming back? After obtaining the inheritance of the green sea snakes, the strength of those 3 little guys will definitely soar. The Lu family is really courting death. Not long after Sixth Brother Lay's voice fell, as if to verify the truth of his words, there was a sudden explosion in the fog above Huangli Island. At the same time, there were loud rebukes and exclamations. Sixth Brother Lay and the others could clearly hear that it was Sam Ling and the Lu family's cultivators fighting. Chapter 1493. The battle for spiritual stone resources in the East Sea's illusionary Spirit Island had eventually evolved into a 3-way battle between the Water Crystal Palace, the Heaven-Splitting Sword Sect, and the Jinling Sect. The Water Crystal Palace still seemed to have an obvious advantage, but anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the current Water Crystal Palace was no longer as good as before. A holy land had 1 true spirit cultivator, Laozu, and 2 or 3 pure yang cultivators. Even this kind of strength could not occupy an absolute advantage in front of Jinling, a newly rising large sect with only 1 pure yang cultivator. After 100 years, Jinling's strength would increase again, and Skyrend would also be fully fledged. By then, the Crystal Palace would be more and more helpless in the face of the 2 sects' pressure. However, the 3-way battle was eventually overshadowed by the strong rise of the spiritual demon clan. Longhui Ancestor, who was born in the spiritual demon clan, became a true spirit cultivator in one fell swoop in the Fallen Mountain's secret place. His strength and cultivation shocked Yuan Jiu, Xiao Baiyu, and Lu Tianping. He personally turned the Fallen Mountain's secret place into the overseas residence of the spiritual demon clan. The 3 powerful cultivators did not dare to have any objection in front of Longhui Ancestor. For a time, Longhui Ancestor's reputation was unparalleled in the cultivation world. Some busybodies even made Longhui Ancestor the #1 cultivator in the world. However, only the top cultivators of the human and demon clans in the cultivation world would be entrusted by the Crystal Palace, and the other 2 sects to pass a message to the Longhui Ancestor. Did the soul lamps of the cultivators who achieved the true spirit in your sect go out after they went to the North Ice Field? It was a simple sentence. It seemed that the major forces in the entire cultivation world had not paid much attention to the rise of the spiritual demon clan. However, only those who were really discerning could detect the great strangeness in the indifferent attitude of the human and demon clans. The birth of a true spirit cultivator, and the rise of a race that had never been paid attention to, this was a power that could change the entire cultivation world. How could the large sects, tribes, and races of the cultivation world not care about this? This kind of unusual calmness was the strangest thing about this. After Yuan Jiu Laozu returned to the Crystal Palace, Yuan Fengli Laozu came to apologize with a face full of shame. Unexpectedly, Yuan Jiu Laozu didn't care about it at all. Instead, he changed the topic and asked, Master's uncle's soul lamp went out? Yuan Fengli Laozu didn't react for a moment. Only when Yuan Jiu Laozu asked again did he know that he was talking about Dan Zhu Laozu. He said in an unconcerned manner, "Of course it's gone out." After the true spirit cultivators went to the northern ice plains, didn't their soul lamps all go out? Didn't the ancestors say that after the true spirit cultivators went to the northern ice plains, their soul lamps would automatically go out because they were completely separated from this world? At this time, Yuan Fengli Laozu could see that Yuan Jiu Laozu's expression wasn't right. Yuan Fengli Laozu didn't understand, so he asked in a probing manner, "Senior brother." The Yuan Jiu ancestor let out a long sigh. His tone was filled with bewilderment as he said, "That's just the speculation of our ancestors regarding the extinguishing of their soul lamps. Moreover, this speculation seems to be the common understanding of all the Holy Lands. Even though the sects that have produced true spirit cultivators don't know the background of the Holy Lands, this matter is probably kept a secret out of fear." Yuan Fengli Laozu said in a puzzled voice, "Since all the sects are like this, what is there for senior brother to worry about?" Yuan Jiu Laozu said with a bitter smile, "The so-called common knowledge is just a guess that all the Holy Lands agree on. In fact, after the founders of the Holy Lands went to the northern ice plains, the extinguishing of their soul lamps caused the Holy Lands to panic. Even the second, third, and fourth generation true spirit cultivators would rather die in their sect's small worlds than go to the northern ice plains. However, these people can't stay in the small worlds for more than 500 years. Yuan Fengli Laozu subconsciously asked, "Why?" If what Yuan Jiu Laozu was talking about was normally a secret that only the pure yang cultivators of the Crystal Palace were qualified to know, but for some reason, Yuan Jiu Laozu said it all in one breath in front of Yuan Fengli Laozu. What else could it be? How many years would it take for a pure yang cultivator to reach the true spirit realm? How much lifespan would he have left after 500 years? How many geniuses like Xiao Baiyu and Lu Tianping do you think are there in this world? After 500 years of reaching the true spirit realm, after leaving this world, is it possible to raise their cultivation to a higher realm than reaching the true spirit realm before their lifespan runs out? Origin Wine Ancestor continued, "The most important thing is that true spirit sect cultivators hiding in a minor thousand world doesn't mean they can sit back and relax. After becoming a true spirit sect cultivator, even if they don't deliberately cultivate, their cultivation will still grow at an extremely stable rate. In about 500 to 800 years, a true spirit cultivator's cultivation will automatically rise to a new bottleneck. At that time, even if a true spirit cultivator hides in a minor thousand world, they will not be able to escape the rejection of this world. This time, a true spirit cultivator will have to face the heavenly punishment." Heavenly punishment? Yes, heavenly punishment. The heavenly punishment of certain death. So the true spirit cultivators of the Holy Lands will change every 300 to 500 years. There are very few true spirit cultivators that will stay in this world for over 500 years. After all, there is no true spirit Laozi that dares to joke around with their own lives. At this time, even Yuan Feng Laozu could feel that Yuan Jiu Laozu's mood wasn't right, but Yuan Feng Laozu couldn't do anything at this time. He could only continue listening to Yuan Jiu Laozu. So they can only go to the northern ice plains and choose to believe in the passage the seventh patriarch left for them to leave this world. Moreover, the fear of their soul lamps extinguishing has turned into a guess that they will naturally cut off their connection to this world after leaving this world. As time goes on, this guess will become inevitable. Yuan Jiu Laozu's heart skipped a beat and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He carefully asked, "What does senior mean?" Yuan Jiu Laozu bitterly smiled. The Longhui ancestor sent a message to the cultivation world, saying that the true spirit cultivators that went to the northern ice plains to leave this world did not actually leave. Instead, they have all died. What? Yuan Jiu Laozu was shocked at first, but then he laughed involuntarily. How is that possible? However, seeing Yuan Jiu Laozu's expression, Yuan Jiu Laozu stuttered. "Senior, this can't be true, right?" "It's hard to say." Yuan Jiu Laozu's expression actually had a trace of viciousness as he said, "Looks like I have to go to the northern ice plains after 500 years. At the same time, on the East Sea's Jade Sword Island, a pagoda-shaped spatial treasure appeared in the sky above the island. It was the spirit space that Xiao Baiyu had taken from the 9 mystical tower. In the spirit space, Xiao Baiyu and 8th Sister Zhu sat opposite each other. Xiao Baiyu asked, "How much do you believe in the words of the Longhua ancestor?" 8th Sister Zhu's expression changed. It was obvious that she was shocked by the news that Xiao Baiyu had told her about the Longhua ancestor's death of all the true spirit cultivators that went to the northern ice plains. After a long time, 8th Sister Zhu finally calmed down and said, "After the 9 mystical towers' true spirit cultivators went to the northern ice plains, the soul lamps that were kept in the sect were indeed extinguished." Xiao Baiyu had an expression as if he had expected it. He said, "Looks like this Longhua ancestor does know something that others don't. Could it be that he's really a clone of Jiao Daoren that has developed a consciousness of his own, and he really possesses the memories left behind by Jiao Daoren?" 8th Sister Zhu said, "If what the Longhua ancestor said is true, then this is truly a monstrous conspiracy." Since the world was split open until now, not a single true spirit cultivator has left this world, and all of them have perished in the so-called passageway to leave this world set up by the 7th Patriarch when the world was split open. This is practically able to shake the beliefs of all the cultivators in the entire cultivation world. What do you intend to do? Xiao Baiyu pondered deeply for a moment before he said with a solemn expression. Longhua shook the world with a single word, and he even invited all the true spirit cultivators in the world to gather in the northern ice plains 500 years from now. No matter if what he said is true or false, he has to make a trip to the northern ice plains 500 years from now to get to the bottom of this. If what he said is true, then at least a few true spirit cultivators will head there 300 years from now, and they'll be able to join forces to break this restriction. If what he said is false, then everyone will surely join forces to attack him at that time. 8th Sister Zhu said with worry, "Could it be that the Longhua ancestor has some sort of scheme? If he really possesses the memories of Jiao Daoren, then he'll surely have something to rely on in the northern ice plains. Have you ever thought that perhaps this was a scheme that he'd planned all along?" Xiao Baiyu had a pondering expression, yet he said in the end, "It's not that I haven't thought about all of this, but it's difficult for me to be at ease if I don't get to the bottom of it. Not to mention that Longhua has the ability to prove that what he said isn't false." "How?" Xiao Baiyu chuckled and said, "The Yuan clan." 8th Sister Zhu still wanted to ask more, but Xiao Baiyu raised his hand to stop her. He said, "In order to prove the doubts in my heart, the top existences of the human and demon clans in this world will definitely gather in the Yuan clan. Whether it's true or not, the Yuan clan will not be able to escape the calamity of destruction this time. However, these are all small matters. The crux of the matter is what our sect should do in these 500 years. 8th Sister Zhu said, "What are your plans?" "The Middle Earth," Xiao Baiyu said resolutely and decisively. "The Crystal Palace is deeply rooted, and we can't compete with the Longhua ancestor behind the Spirit Demon clan. The East Sea is only so big, but the Middle Earth now still has room to expand." 8th Sister Zhu said, "You're talking about the 9 mystical tower?" Xiao Baiyu glanced at her and said, "That's right." 8th Sister Zhu frowned and said, "But in that case, the various sects along the coast of the Middle Earth will not easily agree, especially since the Heavenly Moon sect is an ally of Skyrend." Xiao Baiyu said coldly, "That was then, and this is now. The current Skyrend is no longer worried about external enemies. What it is worried about is its sphere of influence and cultivation resources. This can only be fought over from the old land of the 9 mystical tower. If the Heavenly Moon sect obstructs, for the continuation of the sect's legacy, they can only turn against each other." 8th Sister Zhu nodded and said, "All right, I'll go." "No, you can't go." Looking at 8th Sister Zhu's surprised expression, Xiao Baiyu said, "You have to follow me to cultivate. After 500 years, you will take over this mini kiliacosm from me." 8th Sister Zhu was startled and said with some disbelief, "You want me to take over Skyrend?" Xiao Baiyu's eyes flashed and said, "That's right. I don't want Jianfei to take a shortcut to become a celestial spirit, but I want him to try with his own strength first. However, Jianfei's aptitude is not as amazing as that of Lu Tianping. So after 500 years, he may not have the ability to become a celestial spirit. This will require you, as his mother, to transition for a period of time. After he becomes a celestial spirit, you can hand over the sect to him. This way, you will also have the opportunity to become a celestial spirit, and the other cultivators in the sect will not dare to say anything else. Chapter 1494. Lu Ping did not expect that Longhui ancestor would promote the rise of spirit demon clan after escaping from the sky wall of poison. Therefore, when Longhui ancestor was crossing the tribulation, he took the opportunity to let Debao and the amethyst wasp stay in the secret site, which made Lu Ping feel quite embarrassed afterwards. Fortunately, Longhui ancestor was able to escape because of Lu Ping's help. Naturally, Longhui ancestor would not care about Lu Ping's intention to take advantage of him. Debao and the amethyst wasps were released by Spirit Demon Clan, but the appearance of the amethyst wasps still made Longhui ancestor quite happy. Lu Xiaoyu, are you willing to part with the amethyst wasps? What Longhui ancestor was interested in was naturally not the natural treasures such as honey and royal jelly brewed by the amethyst wasps, but the significant help of the amethyst wasps to the growth of Spirit Demon Clan. If Lu Xiaoyu is willing to part with it, you can give Xianqin a few natural treasures in this secret site. After Yuan Jiu Laozu and Xiao Baiyu left, Lu Ping and Longhui ancestor had a secret meeting. Lu Ping did not expect that Longhui ancestor would make such a request at the beginning. Lu Ping smiled shamefully. I'm really sorry, the amethyst wasps are of great significance to me and my sect. Forgive me for not being able to agree, but if Spirit Demon Clan needs them in the future, I will send disciples of my sect to escort the amethyst wasps to the secret site. Longhui ancestor seemed to have expected that Lu Ping would do this, so there was not the slightest disappointment on his face. He just said, That's good. The amethyst wasps were obtained by Chan Wan from the outer world to create the Spirit Demon Clan. Unfortunately, she and Luan Keir did not get along well in the end. Under the poisonous gas, the amethyst wasps were not endowed with enough bloodline aptitude. In the end, only a limited number of wasps were left. To be honest, when the old man was in the secret site, he was surprised that they had not gone extinct. Please treat these wasps well, little friend. Only the amethyst wasps can continue to exist. Lu Ping could tell from Longhui ancestors' words that the so-called Chan Wan should undoubtedly be Chan Taoist, so the one that Longhui ancestor called Keir was naturally Luan Taoist. Longhui ancestor was originally a doppelganger that Jiao Daoren had set up for himself. But now this doppelganger had given birth to its own consciousness and became Longhui ancestor. However, the Longhui ancestor, who had received many of Jiao Daoren's original memories, would put himself in the role of Jiao Daoren from time to time. This made Lu Ping's heart churn as he listened, as if the person in front of him was really Jiao Daoren, the world-renowned Jiao Daoren. However, rumor had it that Chan Taoist and Luan Taoist were at odds with each other among the seventh patriarch of creation. It seemed that it was true, and there was even a rumor that the source of their discord was originally Jiao Daoren. No one knew how the Longhui ancestor would feel at this moment after receiving Jiao Daoren's memories. The Longhui ancestor seemed to be immersed in his memories and did not notice Lu Ping's expression. However, Lu Ping felt a little guilty for taking advantage of the Longhui ancestor. He wanted to make up for it, so he asked in a low voice. This junior once heard from senior that the seventh patriarch of creation had once tried to support the Spirit Yao race, and the Luan Taoist had even purposely passed down the Wood Luan bloodline. The Longhui ancestor smiled and said, Indeed. Of course, the Wood Luan bloodline was not created just for the Spirit Yao race. However, the Wood Luan bloodline was indeed of great help to the Spirit Yao race. The old man has also seen the Wood Luan bloodline beside you. Unfortunately, the Wood Luan bloodline has almost disappeared in the cultivation world. Although the old man has now advanced to the true spirit realm, He cannot compare to the seventh patriarch of creation. Even if he wants to, he cannot. Lu Ping smiled and said, This junior was fortunate enough to find a few wood wands in the 9 profound tower. After hundreds of years of meticulous support, there are now 20 to 30 of them. If senior does not mind, this junior can recommend some volunteers to come to the fallen secret land. Senior has also said that the Spirit Yao race and the Wood Wand bloodline can complement each other in cultivation. Now that there are so many Spirit Yao race in the fallen secret land, I believe it will be of great help to the Wood Wand bloodline to recover. The Longhua ancestor's eyes lit up and he clapped his hands and said with a smile, That's great, that's great. The old man still has to thank little friend for your generous help. Lu Ping quickly waved his hand and said, I'm ashamed, I'm ashamed. The Longhua ancestor smiled and said, It's no problem. Now that the old man is the patriarch of the Spirit Yao race, I naturally have to make some plans for the children under me. Little friend has helped the old man a lot, so the old man will naturally repay you. This jade slip records the insights that the old man has gained from the formation that Jiao Daoren personally laid down while trapped in the myriad poison sky wall. Ah? Lu Ping was shocked. Looking at the jade slip in the Longhua ancestor's hand, he was lost in thought for a moment. No one understood the value of this jade slip more than Lu Ping. Seeing Lu Ping's expression, the Longhua ancestor smiled and said, I believe that Lu Xiaoyu also understands the true value of the myriad poison sky wall. Jiao Daoren is the master of the Tao of formations in this world, and the myriad poison sky wall can be considered as Jiao Daoren's pinnacle work. Although this world can no longer produce a powerhouse like the seventh patriarch of the heaven-splitting era, nor can they lay down such a heaven-defying formation, it doesn't prevent us from studying this formation. Although the old man's comprehension is shallow, if Lu Xiaoyu can understand it, it will be another trump card for your noble race. Lu Ping took the jade slip with both hands and said solemnly, Thank you, Elder, for your generous gift. The myriad poison sky wall had been guarding the secret fallen site since the heaven-splitting era was created, and its defensive capabilities were naturally unparalleled. However, the true value of the myriad poison sky wall was that it could conceal the aura of a practitioner and delay the arrival of the thunder trial. This was the reason why Lu Ping thanked the Longhua ancestor so solemnly after receiving such a secret teaching from him. However, it is a pity. Perhaps because the old man's cultivation is not as high as Jiao Daoren's, the essence of the formation that the old man understood from the myriad poison sky wall can only conceal the aura of a Dharma adept from being detected by the thunder trial. However, if he wants to conceal the aura of a true spirit adept like this formation in front of us, the old man will not be able to do so. Lu Ping was slightly stunned, and there was some disappointment on his face. He did not know whether what the Longhua ancestor said was true or false, but if he could conceal the aura of a Dharma adept from being detected by the thunder trial, it was already an extremely impressive achievement. However, the Longhua ancestor continued at this moment. It is said that Jiao Daoren condensed the essence of his entire life's formation into 9 fundamental formations. These 9 fundamental formations can be considered as the complete inheritance of Jiao Daoren's formation. If these 9 fundamental formations can be set up, supplemented by the essence of the formation that the old man understood from the myriad poison sky wall, he may be able to set up a formation that can even conceal the aura of a true spirit adept. At that time, as long as this formation is set up, a true spirit adept will not need to be trapped in a mini-kiliocosm. It is a pity that the inheritance that the old man received from Jiao Daoren is not complete. Otherwise, it may be able to help you become the cornerstone of the Holy Land. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. The inheritance of the 9 fundamental formations was now in the hands of Lu Ping. Now, Deng Tianming and the Sky Fox, the 2 formation masters of Zhenling, were both proficient in it. If not for this, Zhenling would not have been able to set up such a shocking formation and seek Fei Ling Island and the 7-star grotto heaven. Senior's help is enough for Zhenling to remember. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, I wonder if Senior knows about the 7-star grotto heaven? The Longhua ancestor was stunned, and then a blurry look flashed in his eyes, as if he was searching for a distant memory. After a long time, he seemed to remember something and said, "Seven-star grotto heaven? Seven-star gentleman? It seems that when Jiao Daoren gave the heaven-splitting speech, there were 7 followers who were siblings of different surnames. It was said that Jiao Daoren was grateful for their friendship, so he used the names of the 7 famous stars in the starry sky as their Taoist names. However, I only heard about the 7 stars from Jiao Daoren, and it's very difficult to see them in this world. Are you talking about these 7 people? However, when this world was first discovered by the 7th patriarch, the heaven-splitting speech, it was still very weak. In order to not be discovered by the enemies in the starry sky, and to protect its growth, the 7th patriarch worked together to hide this world in the starry sky. Therefore, in this world, even the stars are rarely seen in the night sky, not to mention the 7 famous stars that Jiao Daoren mentioned." Lu Ping's mind was in turmoil. There were very few stars in the night sky of this world. Even if there were a few shining, they were blurry, and the defense was obscured by a layer of fog. Therefore, when Lu Ping first entered the center of the 7-star grotto heaven, he was surprised that the 7 palaces were named after the Big Dipper. Lu Ping had once entered the 7th patriarch's Taoist altar. It was said that it was a minor kiliacosm that the heaven-splitting speech, the 7th patriarch, attached to the surface of this world. In the night sky there, Lu Ping saw the starry night sky, and saw the bright Milky Way that traversed across the sky. Although there had long been a legend in the world of cultivation that the 7th patriarch, the heaven-splitting speech, had to hide it in the starry sky in order to protect this world, so it was always covered by a layer of haze when looking out from this world. This time, the Longhui ancestor seemed to have confirmed this legend even more. The Longhui ancestor suddenly realized something and said, "Why, little friend, are you looking for the 7-star grotto heaven? Is the 7-star grotto heaven also a minor kiliacosm? If this matter was to succeed, it would cause a huge commotion, and it would be impossible to hide it." Moreover, Jinling had probably already begun to succeed in the North Sea, so there was no need for Lu Ping to hide it. He only said, "It should be a minor kiliacosm, hidden in the void. It opens on its own every 100 years, and only blood condensation cultivators can enter." "Oh!" The Longhui ancestor's eyes flashed rapidly, then he calmed down and said, "This 7-star grotto heaven is in the North Sea?" "Yes." After Lu Ping left the secret graveyard, the Longhui ancestor looked in the direction in which Lu Ping left, as if he wanted to see Lu Ping's shadow through the void. He murmured, "Could it be that Jiao Daoren didn't only have the old man as a backup plan? What's so strange about this young man? Why can't even the old man see through him? But there's always a sense of closeness that comes from the bloodline. There's also the 7-star grotto heaven, the 7-star gentleman. I wonder if the others also have a plan. In 500 years, everything will be clear. But before that, the old man must first cut off one of Ping Doran's arms. Yuan clan, Yuan clan." Chapter 1495. Lu Ping did not expect that the secret meeting with the Longhui ancestor in the secret perished ground would yield such a great harvest. After returning to the North Sea, he even temporarily summoned the 2 formation masters of Jinling, Deng Tianming and the Sky Fox, who were in charge of the migration of Failing Island and the capture of the 7-star grotto heaven, to Tianling Mountain. "How is it? What are the possibilities?" Lu Ping asked Deng Tianming, who first looked at the formation understanding jade slip left behind by the Longhui ancestor. Among the formation masters of Jinling, Deng Tianming and the Sky Fox had the highest achievements. The original formation master of Jinling, perfected Xianqin, did not manage to achieve Dharma in the end. He had already passed away decades ago when his lifespan was exhausted. Between the two of them, Deng Tianming was more talented in the art of array formations. He was the true number 1 array formation grandmaster in Jinling sect. In Lu Ping's long-term plans for Jinling sect, Deng Tianming was involved in almost all the plans related to the art of array formations. On the other hand, Sky Fox was slightly less talented in the art of array formations, but she had the support of the current pillar of Jinling sect. This allowed Sky Fox to receive the greatest amount of funding from Jinling sect for her research in the art of array formations. Hence, Sky Fox's knowledge in the art of array formations was also extremely high. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been tasked with the task of finding the exact location of the 7-star grotto heaven in the void. Deng Tianming frowned slightly and said in a low voice, "According to the records in this jade slip, if it is truly combined with the 9 fundamental formations, it is indeed possible to set up a formation similar to the myriad poison sky wall. It also has the effect of concealing the aura of a true spirit cultivator." Lu Ping's face lit up with joy and he said, "So this method will work?" Deng Tianming shook his head, and his expression seemed to be somewhat helpless. "Why?" Lu Ping's expression froze, but he still maintained his calm and asked. The Sky Fox also looked at the contents of the jade slip and answered, "It's because our cultivation is not enough." Seeing the confusion on Lu Ping's face, the Sky Fox continued to explain. "With our cultivation in the early Dharma stage, we are not up to the requirements of setting up such a formation. In fact, even a late Dharma adept would find it difficult to set it up. Only a pure yang or true spirit adept can do it." Deng Tianming continued, "This lack of cultivation refers to our lack of cultivation in the path of formations. The Longhui ancestor has studied the myriad poison sky wall for tens of thousands of years and has yet to crack it. Even though we have Jiao Doran's 9 fundamental formations in our hands, each of the 9 fundamental formations can be said to be broad and profound. In fact, it is enough for a formation master to spend his entire life studying and trying to understand them. To want to simultaneously open up the essence of the 9 fundamental formations, unless we have the lifespan and talent of Jiao Daoran." Lu Ping was very disappointed. If this formation was successfully set up, then Lu Ping could still extend his footprint to the limits of Jinling's sphere of influence after attaining the immortal soul. After Lu Ping, as long as Jinling could protect the immortal soul, then Jinling could be under the protection of this formation and not be afraid of any sex provocations. But if this formation was not successfully set up, then after Lu Ping achieved the immortal soul, he could only be trapped in the 7 stars cave heaven. If Jinling was attacked by various sects in the future, he could only be trapped in a corner of the North Sea. Actually, it is not impossible to set up this formation. Deng Tianming wanted to say something but stopped. Lu Ping was stunned, but he calmed down and said, "Brother Deng, please say it." Deng Tianming nodded and said, "It is extremely difficult to control all 9 fundamental formations, but if one person focuses on one, it is not impossible, but that requires at least 9 formation masters, and each of them has to understand a fundamental formation. At the same time, the 9 of them have to have a tacit understanding when setting up the formation. Let's not talk about the last 2. Just training 9 formation masters in one sect at the same time, even the Crystal Palace and the Purple Sun Palace combined might not be able to do it." This was obviously not feasible. Lu Ping shook his head and was a little dejected. Now, Lu Ping was also confident that he could achieve the immortal soul in 200 years, but when he thought about how he would have to stay in the 7 stars cave heaven for at least 300 years after achieving the immortal soul, he shuddered. Although this kind of formation could only restrict Lu Ping to a few important places after achieving the true spirit realm, he would at least be able to look around. Not to mention he could use this to deter the other sects, especially in the area Jinling had opened up outside the North Sea. However, Lu Ping was not an array master, but the Heavenly Fox already understood Deng Tianming's meaning. He said with a smile, "What Senior Brother Deng means is to first create a part of the formation that we can completely control. In the future, when our sex formation masters thoroughly study the other fundamental formation, they will be able to create another part that they can control. Like this, as long as the inheritance of our sex array masters doesn't end, the 9 fundamental formations will be completely studied by the array masters of the past generations. At that time, we only need a true spirit cultivator to combine the 9 parts of the formation into one." Then, this formation that can protect a true spirit cultivator from the small thousand world can be successfully laid down, but, Lu Ping said in a dejected manner, but this process can't be completed in one go. At least, I'm afraid I won't be able to catch up in this lifetime. The heavenly fox giggled and seemed to be taking pleasure in Jinling's misfortune. The current Jinling inheritance had already reached 6 generations and Lu Ping's prestige was growing. Not to mention Jinling, even in the entire cultivation world, there weren't many people who would take pleasure in the North Sea Water Sword Immortal's misfortune. After Lu Ping established Huangli Island, he traveled the world. Huangli Island had always been guarded by the Heavenly Fox, so the two of them didn't spend much time together. Now that the formation couldn't be laid down, Lu Ping could only guard the Rejoice Heavenly Cave when he became a true spirit cultivator, so the two of them spent more time together. Lu Ping was a bit dispirited. He gave the Longhua ancestors knowledge of arrays to the two of them and said, "You two can do as you see fit. The foundation of Jinling isn't something I can lay down by myself. I'll leave some things for the future disciples to do and let them understand how difficult it is for a senior to start a business." 1/3 of Fei Ling Island had already floated out of the sea, while 2/3 of Yankuan Island, which was the fulcrum of the array, had already sunk. However, it would still take several years for Fei Ling Island to completely merge with Tianling Island. Originally, this process could be greatly shortened. Lu Ping had once planned to use the vast seas and mulberry fields technique with the help of Deng Tianming's array, but in the end, it was rejected by celestial phenomenon Laozu. Now, almost the entire North Sea was under Jinling's control, and the eventual merger of Fei Ling Island and Tianling Mountain was unstoppable. It was just a matter of prolonging the time, and there was no need to hurt himself at this time. Outside Huangli Island, the Central Plains Lu family had been annihilated by the combined forces of Samling, Sixth Brother Lei, and Green Fox. The Central Plains Lu family was known as the top alchemy family in the world, and the few Dharma adepts of the Lu family were all alchemy masters or above. Even Lu Runjian and Lu Ruinjia were alchemy gurus, and they carried with them 2 magic treasure-level alchemy furnaces and several types of fire seeds that were beneficial to alchemy. The other high-grade magic treasure-level alchemy furnaces and fire seeds were also quite plentiful. This time, the Lu family could be said to have sent out all their elites to obtain the 10,000 poison source liquid in the 7-star cave heaven. Almost 1/3 of the Lu family's strength was gathered. Now that the entire army had been destroyed on Huangli Island, the Lu family had suffered a great loss, but Jinling had gained a lot, including a large number of the Lu family's alchemy secrets. The 7-star cave heaven had been firmly caught in the void by the formation that Celestial Fox had set up on Huangli Island. However, in order to completely capture it, Lu Ping had to do it personally. However, the price was also extremely high. Other than the flying rainbow cauldron, which was used to hold the 7-star cave heaven, the sea bell, the cloud sail, the sea transfer order, and the double swords that had followed Lu Ping for a long time, a total of 5 spiritual treasures, all had to be sacrificed. Even Lu Ping felt pained, but for the sake of the mini Kiliacosm, he could not care too much. After repelling the Yuan family, Celestial Phenomenon Laozu was seriously injured because he had activated the heaven-splitting divine ability sealed in the Luan Taoist's 7-colored tail feather. This made Lu Ping very vexed. Originally, Lu Ping had already discovered this problem. Therefore, although he had given the 3 tail feathers to Mei Tianqin, Lu Tianling, and Celestial Phenomenon Laozu in case of emergency, he still hoped that Mei Tianqin would be able to activate the heaven-splitting divine ability sealed in the tail feather. Although Mei Tianqin's strength was not comparable to Celestial Phenomenon Laozu, her Luan bloodline and the recognition of one of the tail feathers could minimize the backlash after activating the heaven-splitting divine ability. However, Celestial Phenomenon Laozu stubbornly refused. This old man had protected Jinling all his life. When Jinling was at its most critical moment, he was unwilling to leave Tianling Island no matter what. In the end, although the 2 pure yang experts of the Yuan family fell under the heaven-splitting divine ability, Celestial Phenomenon Laozu was also seriously injured by the backlash. Even if he recovered in the future, his lifespan would probably be greatly reduced. As for advancing to the pure Yang realm, there was no hope at all. After Lu Ping returned to the North Sea, Jinling was once again busy. Today, Jinling's foundation was getting stronger day by day. There were no internal and external troubles, so it was the best time to expand their forces and accumulate their foundation. Since the Longhui ancestor had announced to the various holy lands, sects, and tribal demon kings that he would destroy the Yuan family, Lu Ping naturally did not mind pushing the boat along with the current to take revenge for the Yuan family's sneak attack on Tianling Mountain. However, before that, Lu Ping had to return to Huangli Island first. Ever since Lu Ping returned to the North Sea, he could sense that the dragon statue seemed to be eager to see him, as if it had something important to tell him. This time, I've made a great contribution. Without my protection, Huangli Island's great formation might not be able to block the Lu family's morning fog. As soon as it saw Lu Ping, the dragon statue first showed off its contribution. Cut the crap. I'm in a hurry to go to Middle-earth. Why are you so eager to see me? What's the matter? Hurry up and say it. You're going out? The dragon statue on the 9-dragon bell cheered and said, This time, you must bring me along. Are you going to say it or not? Hey, don't be angry. I'll say it, the dragon statue said mysteriously. It's the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique. The complete Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique. Chapter 1496. It's the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, the complete Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique. There was a buzzing sound in Lu Ping's head. Although Lu Ping was used to life and death situations, and there were few things in the cultivation world that could truly shake his heart, the news of the dragon statue truly shocked Lu Ping from the bottom of his heart. Immediately after, he felt his entire body being enveloped in boundless joy. You mean the complete Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique? The follow-up cultivation technique after cultivating the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique to the true spirit level? Lu Ping suppressed the shock and surprise in his heart with great difficulty. He said in a deep voice, Didn't you say that you didn't know about these things? Back then, Jiao Daoren only passed down the cultivation technique to the true spirit level. Heaven-splitting 7th Patriarch didn't teach anyone what to do after reaching the true spirit level. How did you suddenly inherit the complete Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique? The dragon statue shook its head on the surface of the 9-dragon bell, as if it was also a little confused. It said, I'm not too sure either. It was as if I sensed something in that instant. That feeling was similar to when I met you in the Tao altar of the 7th Patriarch. It seemed to be a power that originated from the bloodline. However, it seemed that a memory buried in this dragon's body suddenly emerged. This memory originally existed in this dragon's body, but it was so cleverly sealed that even this dragon didn't realize it. At this point, the dragon statue suddenly said angrily, Damn it, this must be Jiao Daoren's doing. He actually did so many things behind this dragon's back. Lu Ping glanced at it in surprise and said, What's so strange about that? You were originally created by him. I'm afraid that his understanding of you is deeper than your understanding of yourself. The dragon statue snorted twice, but did not say anything else. Lu Ping asked again, When did the follow-up cultivation technique of the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique appear? It suddenly appeared in your memory not long after you went to the East Sea. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. Not long after he went to the East Sea, that should be after the Longhui ancestor broke through the sky wall of poison with my help, and transcended the thunder tribulation to become a true soul. Could the subsequent cultivation techniques of the Soaring Dragon Galaxy art have something to do with this? However, the Longhui ancestor was a spirit demon, and naturally cultivated a wood-based cultivation method. The Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, on the other hand, was a typical water-based cultivation method. From this point of view, the two did not seem to have much of a relationship. However, even so, Lu Ping had made up his mind that he would not bring the dragon sculpture with him when he headed to the Middle Mainland to annihilate the Yuan family. Lu Ping knocked on the 9-dragon bell and said, "Give me the complete cultivation technique first." In order to complete the soaring dragon galaxy art, Lu Ping did not hesitate to postpone his trip to Middle-earth. The complete soaring dragon galaxy art not only recorded the complete cultivation technique, but it also had an extremely detailed description of the infinite starry sky outside this world. The starry sky was infinite, the races were infinite, the cultivation techniques were infinite, the cultivation methods were infinite, and the cultivation resources were infinite. Compared to the infinite starry sky, the world that Lu Ping was in only had 7 inherited bloodlines and the various cultivation techniques and supernatural powers that evolved from the 49 types of heaven-splitting techniques. Not only was it narrow, but it was also an extremely weak world compared to the infinite starry sky. And from this point, it also showed that the heaven-splitting 7th patriarch of the world that Lu Ping was in was not a living being of this world. They should be cultivators who came from the starry sky and accidentally discovered this new world. Thus, they joined hands and began to open up the heavens and earth in this world, spreading Taoism and becoming known as the heaven-splitting 7th patriarch. From the contents of the soaring dragon galaxy art, becoming a true spirit was just the first stage of a new beginning. Far above the true spirit was the existence of a divine spirit. If a cultivator wanted to live forever, they could only advance towards a higher level of divine spirit. Only by becoming a divine spirit could they truly be immortal. However, on the path from the true spirit to the divine spirit, cultivators had to go through 9 stages, known as the 9 divine spirit transformations. The process of these 9 transformations was to gather the essence of the 5 elements, and wind and ice. After that, the 7 great essences would merge into one and become the source of thunder, which would then evolve into primal chaos. This was the future cultivation path of the true spirit cultivator. Until one day, when the true spirit cultivator broke through the primal chaos and became a true divine spirit, they would be able to stand at the peak of the entire starry sky and become an immortal existence, looking down on all the worlds in the starry sky. Amongst the 7th patriarch, the one with the strongest cultivation was Ping Daoren. Amongst the 7th patriarch, only Ping Daoren had controlled the 7 great origins of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and ice. Even though Ping Daoren's cultivation had already touched the 8th stage after becoming a true spirit, and he had also grasped the inheritance of thunder, he had not evolved the 7 great origins into the source of thunder, and had truly reached the 8th stage after becoming a true spirit. However, with the help of the number 1 divine artifact, the 7 treasured thunder gourd, Ping Daoren could completely compare to the 8th stage of the true spirit realm, transforming into the source of thunder. This allowed Ping Daoren to firmly occupy the position of number 1 amongst the 7th patriarch. In the cultivation process after becoming a true spirit, each of the 7 great origins of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and ice could become a true spirit first, and then they could supplement the other 6 origins. Therefore, the first 7 realms after becoming a true spirit cultivator did not matter, and only depended on how many origins a true spirit cultivator could gather. Therefore, each bloodline cultivation technique could be passed down to 7 different origins. However, the 8th stage of transforming into the source of thunder could only be done after gathering all 7 origins. Because he had not truly cultivated the source of thunder, Ping Daoren did not pass down the complete thunder path inheritance in the cultivation world. He could only rely on the Ping bloodline to create the Yuan family, hoping to use the purer bloodline to inherit the thunder bloodline inheritance. Although the cultivation process after the true spirit realm also required 9 transformations, there were only 3 thresholds. Gathering all 7 origins was the first stage, and it was also the easiest stage to climb to the undying realm. Forming the source of thunder was the second stage, and transforming into primal chaos was the third stage. From this point of view, the 7th patriarch of the world where Lu Ping came from, including Ping Daoren, were only at the initial stage after becoming a true spirit. Apart from Ping Daoren, Jiao Daoren had the highest cultivation base among the 7th patriarch of the world of the Creator, gathering 6 of the 7 origins. Even so, Jiao Daoren could rely on his incomparably sharp sword arts to compete with Ping Daoren, whose cultivation base was higher than his own. If it was not for the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash that allowed Ping Daoren's cultivation base to cross the second threshold and become an existence no weaker than transforming into the source of thunder, it would be debatable who the first person to open the sky would be. Apart from these two, Taoist Tiger, Taoist Ape, and Wan Daoist should all have gathered 5 origins, while Taoist Chan and Taoist Turtle were relatively weak, and seemed to only have 4 origins. These were all speculations that Lu Ping got from the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, which naturally came from Jiao Daoren's inheritance. After coming out of seclusion, Lu Ping looked a little disappointed but also a little glad, but more than that, he was deeply puzzled. What disappointed him was that it had been more than 30,000 years since the 7th Patriarch opened the world, but it was still a new world. In this world, the cultivators who could become true spirits had already reached the limit that this world could bear. Even if they hid in the spirit space, the true spirit cultivator's cultivation would still grow on its own, but they would never be able to condense a second origin. On the contrary, when the true spirit cultivator reached the limit of the first stage, they would incur the heavenly punishment of this world, and at that time, even the spirit space would not be able to protect them. What made Lu Ping glad was that although this world could not bear the true spirit cultivator condensing a second origin, it did not prevent Lu Ping from finding another way to condense the origin in the future. And if he wanted to do this in this world after becoming a true spirit, the first thing he needed was a complete follow-up cultivation technique, and the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique in Lu Ping's hands was a complete cultivation technique that led straight to the Divine Spirit realm. This was a complete cultivation technique passed down by the Divine Dragon Clan in the Infinite Starry Sky, and only the direct disciples of the Divine Dragon Clan and the outstanding members of the Dragon Clan who were recognized by the Divine Dragon Clan had the qualifications to pass down this cultivation technique. From this, it could be seen that Jiao Daoren's background was probably not a small matter in the Infinite Starry Sky. And the second thing he needed was something that made Lu Ping overjoyed. According to the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, although it was impossible to condense a second source in this world, it did not prevent cultivators from laying the foundation for condensing a second, third, or even 7th source. And this required a type of rare treasure called the Starry Sky spiritual object. And Lu Ping just so happened to have this kind of Starry Sky spiritual object on him, and not just one. Samling 5 Elements Leaf. It was actually the Samling 5 Elements Leaf. This kind of natural treasure that Lu Ping originally thought could only be used to heal the injuries of Dharma adepts, but it was extremely expensive to make. It was actually the Starry Sky spiritual object that Jiao Daoren had recorded in the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, and it was a natural treasure that did not originally exist in this world. Chapter 1497. Before Lu Ping had obtained the follow-up to the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, the legends about the Samling 5 Elements Leaf had only been passed down from Taoist Gui that it could be used to heal a practitioner's injuries. Other than that, there was nothing else. All this while, Lu Ping had always felt that it was a waste to use the Samling 5 Elements Leaf to heal the injuries of Dharma adepts. In order to cultivate a mature Samling 5 Elements Leaf, Lu Ping had to pay a huge price. He had used the late Dharma stage wood Phoenix Golden Core to shorten the growth period of the Samling 5 Elements Leaf. Apart from that, he had also needed 5 elements of heaven and earth treasures ranging from low-grade profound level to high-grade heaven level to support the growth of the Samling 5 Elements Leaf. And the end result of such a huge expenditure was just to recover the injuries of a few Dharma adepts. In reality, the 45 types of heaven and earth treasures used to cultivate the Samling 5 Elements Leaf were enough for a sect to cultivate close to 10 Dharma adepts. No matter how one looked at it, the loss did not seem to outweigh the gain. Even with Lu Ping's initial wealth, when he had used 5 types of heaven and earth treasures to cultivate the 7th leaf of the Samling 5 Elements Leaf, it had already been beyond his capabilities. if not for the fact that he had absorbed enough 5 elements spiritual chi from the 5 elements tortoise vault to directly mature the samling 5 elements leaf, Lu Ping might have even had to give up on the possibility of continuing to cultivate this mysterious spirit herb. But now, Lu Ping only felt fortunate. He was fortunate that he had in his hands a spirit herb that was extremely rare even in the infinite universe, and that he had succeeded in growing it. Lu Ping opened his mouth and spat out a pure yang pearl. Now, under the nourishment of the pure yang dharma power, the pure yang pearl had already become the source of the dragon dharma power. And within this pure yang pearl, the samling 5 elements leaf that Lu Ping had successfully cultivated was sealed. When Lu Ping achieved the true soul stage, he would be able to use this spirit herb to establish the foundation of his origin. Once the 7 origin foundations were established, although Lu Ping would still be unable to break through to the first stage of the true soul stage in this world, he would be able to establish a solid foundation for his future cultivation. Once he successfully broke free from the shackles of this world, Lu Ping's cultivation would once again usher in a violent growth. Moreover, with the 7 origin foundations established, Lu Ping's cultivation would not encounter too many bottlenecks before he cultivated the 7 origin foundations to perfection and fused them into the thunder origin. More importantly, because of the 7 origin foundations established, after Lu Ping achieved the true soul stage and established the water origin, he could simultaneously cultivate the other 6 origin foundations to perfection. He did not need to be like other true spirit cultivators. Because they did not have any starry sky treasures to establish the other origin foundations, they had no choice but to cultivate each origin foundation one by one. This would naturally greatly delay their cultivation speed. In other words, after Lu Ping achieved the true soul stage, all he needed to do was to cultivate the 7 origin foundations to perfection. In fact, after Lu Ping advanced to the pure yang realm, he could already feel that the samling 5 element leaf in the pure yang pearl had a faint resonance with his dragon law idol. Lu Ping had always thought that this resonance should come from the samling 5 element leaf's healing effect on origin injuries. But now it seemed that it was not just that. Now that his true soul had not become a true soul, this resonance should be based on the water origin that Lu Ping had not yet cultivated to perfection, and the samling 5 element leaf's water spirit leaf. Staring at the samling 5 element leaf sealed in the pure yang pearl, Lu Ping's eyes flashed with a fiery light. He never thought that such a small spirit herb would actually be an extremely rare starry sky spiritual treasure in the endless starry sky. It was just that this world was not a place where such a spiritual treasure could be born. Where on earth did the samling 5 element leaf seed that Lu Ping obtained from the 7-star grotto heaven come from? According to the Longhui ancestor, after the creation of the 7th patriarch, the passage to the outside world opened by the 7th patriarch in the northern ice field became a dangerous place. Since the creation of the world until now, not a single true spirit cultivator had truly left this world. Therefore, the samling 5 element leaf seed that should not have appeared in this world could only have been left behind by the 7th patriarch. According to the records of Longhui ancestor, after Jiao Daoren mistakenly took Taoist Gui's poisonous pill and his origin was damaged, the 7-star gentleman once asked Taoist Gui for advice. It seemed that Taoist Gui did not have the samling 5 element leaf seed. Then, why did the samling 5 element leaf seed appear in the 7-star grotto heaven? And why did he leave such a clear record about the samling 5 element leaf? In the past, Lu Ping would naturally be confused. However, after obtaining the complete Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, Lu Ping set his eyes on Taoist Gui again. Back in the South Sea's 5 elemental tortoise vault, if it weren't for the 3 spirits' 5 elemental leaf absorbing enough of the 5 elemental origin energy to fully mature, Lu Ping didn't know where he would have found 5 mid-grade and 5 high-grade elemental origin treasures of the 5 elements. According to the description of the cultivation realm after reaching the true spirit in the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, as Taoist Gui's dojo in the South Sea, the rich and majestic 5 elements origin chi in the 5 elements tortoise vault seemed to indicate that Taoist Gui should be in existence like Taoist Hu and Taoist Ape, who had gathered all 5 kinds of origin foundation and cultivated them to perfection. However, in the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, Jiao Daoren clearly recorded Taoist Gui's cultivation, but he had only gathered 4 kinds of origin qi, which made him one of the 2 people with the lowest cultivation among the 7th patriarch. So, was Taoist Gui at the 4th true spirit realm, or the 5th true spirit realm, or did he pretend to be at the 4th true spirit realm in front of Jiao Daoren when he was at the 5th true spirit realm? If it was the latter, then what was the purpose of Taoist Gui hiding his cultivation? Back then, when Jiao Daoren mistakenly took a poisonous pill from Taoist Gui and damaged his origin foundation, was Taoist Gui intentional or unintentional? If these things happened in the past, even if Lu Ping had some doubts, he would not have looked into it. How could he be qualified to intervene in the conflicts and schemes between the 7th patriarch? However, when Long Huai ancestor broke out of the heavenly poisonous wall and released the news that none of the true spirit realm cultivators have ever left this world since the beginning of the world, to all the cultivators above the pure yang level, which almost shook the entire cultivation world, Lu Ping suddenly realized that he had to think about these things. Because according to ancestor Long Huai, this world seemed to have fallen into a great scheme that had been going on since the heavens were split open, and only the 7th ancestor of creation had the ability to weave this scheme and gather all the cultivators that had advanced into the true spirit realm since the heavens were split open in the last 30,000 years. So, was it one of the 7th patriarch who set up this shocking conspiracy? How many? Or all of them? Could it be that the 7th patriarch, who had always been regarded as the creator and revered by the entire cultivation world, used the creatures of this world as some kind of sacrificial tool to achieve some unspeakable purpose? Then what was the purpose of setting up this shocking conspiracy? Why hadn't the 7th patriarch appeared in this world in the past 30,000 years? Where did they go? Did they still exist in this world or in the infinite starry sky? Of course, all of this was based on the news of Long Huai ancestor that could be regarded as complete nonsense. However, Long Huai ancestor's strength and identity made those who scoffed at this news restrain their attitudes. The fact that the soul lamps of the true spirit realm cultivators in the various sects extinguished after they went to the northern ice plains also made many of the sects in charge of the Laozu clan anxious and doubtful. It was a good thing that Long Huai ancestor still had evidence in his hands, and this evidence pointed to the number 1 family of the cultivation world, Ping Doran's one and only human bloodline inheritor of the heaven's 7th patriarch, the Yuan family. Under the pressure of shaking the foundations of the entire cultivation world, it seemed like everyone kept silent on Long Huai ancestor's proposal to destroy the Yuan family. Even the powerful cultivators that were on good terms with the Yuan family did not secretly inform the Yuan family. It seemed like everyone wanted to use the Yuan family to verify something. But it seemed like everyone forgot that if the Long Huai ancestors' words were not trustworthy or if they couldn't obtain strong evidence after the destruction of the Yuan family, then wouldn't the Yuan family, the number 1 family that had made great contributions to Mara's calamity, be sacrificed for nothing? However, the strange thing was that it seemed that no one in the entire cultivation world had ever raised any doubts about this. Chapter 1498. When Yuan Daotian and Yuan Tongtian, the 2 pure yang cultivators of the Yuan clan, were burned into nothingness by celestial phenomenon Laozu's heaven-splitting divine art sealed in the Luan Taoist's natal feather, Yuan Feixiang quickly realized that something was amiss and immediately fled Tianling Island's waters. However, Jinling's reaction was much faster than Yuan Feixiang had expected. He even immediately realized that this was a trap set by Jinling against the Yuan clan. Although Yuan Feixiang was filled with grief and indignation, he could only sigh helplessly in the face of Jinling's blockade of the entire North Sea and the subsequent search for him. The current Jinling was different from the past. His control over the entire North Sea was even greater than the Crystal Palace's control over the East Sea at its peak. After all, compared to the vastness of the East Sea, the North Sea was much narrower, and Jinling's current strength was much stronger than the other sects in the North Sea. Ever since the Blue Sea sect was destroyed, Shuyan Pavilion and Haiyan sect were brutally suppressed by Mei Tianqin, and even the North Sea demon clans suffered losses. There was only one voice left in the entire North Sea, the voice of Zhenling. Perhaps there should have been another sect's voice in the North Sea, but ever since Zhenling's treasured ship went to the Heartland, Xianling sect began to take the initiative to show weakness to Zhenling, even to the point of fawning over Zhenling, so Xianling sect's butcher knife never fell on Xianling sect. Just when Yuan Feixiang felt that he was almost at his wit's end, a person appeared in front of him and finally let him know that there were people in the North Sea who dared to oppose the increasingly powerful Zhenling. It was just that in front of the tyrannical Zhenling, all the voices of opposition had been hidden. Ouyang Weijian, who hadn't appeared in the North Sea for a long time, and even the Zhenling cultivators who were monitoring Xianling sect were certain that the most outstanding third-generation disciple of Xianling sect had left the North Sea a long time ago. He was either in the East Sea or the Middle Earth, cultivating and avoiding Zhenling's detection. At this moment, Ouyang Weijian was standing in front of Yuan Feixiang. What surprised Yuan Feixiang even more was that the future hope of Xianling sect had already passed through the second lightning tribulation and reached the late Dharma stage. However, it was obvious that the entire North Sea did not know that Xianling sect had produced a second late Dharma adept. In an instant, Yuan Feixiang understood that the former number one sect in the North Sea did not want to be under anyone for long. Their concession to Zhenling was probably more of a hidden strategy. This gave Yuan Feixiang a glimmer of hope for revenge. "I didn't expect," Ouyang Weijian grinned and said. "You shouldn't perish just like that. Your esteemed sect also has great ambitions." Yuan Feixiang laughed coldly. "It's just that I don't understand why Senior Dao Xing didn't join forces with us back then." Ouyang Weijian laughed and said, "If even two pure young masters couldn't destroy Zhenling, what's the point of Xianling sect getting involved? It's better to hide behind the scenes and leave a way out for your family. In fact, this way out is exactly what you need right now." Yuan Feixiang's expression instantly turned ugly. "You've already predicted that we would fail." The underlying meaning was clear. If that was the case, then Xianling sect would be deliberately watching the Yuan family's pure young adepts die. That would be the beginning of a feud. Ouyang Weijian shook his head and laughed. "Why do you think so? Is my appearance not enough to show my sincerity?" Naturally, Yuan Feixiang didn't believe that Xianling sect had already predicted that Yuan family would fail. Or that no matter how bad the situation was, they wouldn't have lost two pure young masters on Sky Spirit Island. Compared to that, Yuan Feixiang believed Ouyang Weijian's explanation more. Moreover, as the most outstanding third-generation disciple of Xianling sect, he carried almost all of Xianling sect's future hopes on his shoulders. Even Ouyang Weijian had heard of his name before. Rumor had it that he had been living in exile outside the North Sea to avoid Zhenling's possible persecution. Now, he had risked being discovered by Zhenling to rescue Yuan Feixiang. This was already enough to show his sincerity. Xianling sect clearly wanted to borrow the strength of Yuan family. Similarly, Yuan family had suffered a great loss in the North Sea, so they wouldn't let it go easily. However, in the face of the rising Zhenling, they also needed a spy. At this point, both of them had clearly realized this situation. Although Yuan Feixiang still had some reservations, he knew that both sides had already reached an agreement on how to deal with Zhenling. Initially, Yuan Feixiang thought that Ouyang Weijian would bring him out of the North Sea through a secret channel. Unexpectedly, Yuan Feixiang had been hiding in the North Sea for several months. According to Ouyang Weijian, once Zhenling couldn't find him in the North Sea, he would naturally think that he had escaped and let his guard down. Yuan Feixiang thought that Ouyang Weijian made sense. Moreover, after the battle at Tianling Mountain, even if Yuan Feixiang returned to the family, he would probably face the wrath of the entire family. The death of two pure young masters was a disaster for the Yuan family. As a person who was determined to break the bloodline shackles and become the leader of the Holy Land, he would inevitably be hit by his brothers who coveted his position in the family. Therefore, it was better for him to hide outside and observe the situation before making any plans. Moreover, after he was hidden by Ouyang Weijian, Xianling's sect did not cut off his contact with the outside world. On the contrary, news about the North Sea, Jinling, and Lu Tianping were continuously sent to him through Ouyang Weijian. Yankin Island sank, and Failing Island floated to the surface and slowly moved towards Tianling Island. Yankin Island was not a medium for Jinling to search for the Seven Stars Grotto Heaven, but a fulcrum to remove Jinling's forbidden formation. I've been tricked. Yuan Feixiang instantly understood that Jinling had long noticed Lin Yu Laozu's abnormality. From the beginning, the Yuan family had already fallen into Jinling's trap. Immediately after that, the Lu family of Central Earth took the opportunity to surround Huangli Island with the morning fog in an attempt to prevent Jinling from sending his disciples into the Seven Stars Grotto Heaven. Instead, they were killed by Lu Tianping's followers, 3 green sea snake descendants at the mid-Dharma stage. Immediately after that, news spread that even though Jinling had foiled the Lu family's plot, in the end, he did not send a single disciple into the Seven Stars Grotto Heaven. Yuan Feixiang let out a long sigh. He finally knew that his failure was not a fluke. Jinling had given up on this trip to the Seven Stars Grotto Heaven because Jinling had absolute confidence in obtaining the Seven Stars Grotto Heaven. This time, the disciples from the various sects of the North Sea who had entered the Seven Stars Grotto Heaven would probably all be captured. Until now, when Ouyang Weijian finally told Yuan Feixiang that he could leave, Yuan Feixiang did not feel the slightest bit happy. This was because the continuous news over the past few months had made Yuan Feixiang feel that the outcome had been decided. Would he really have the chance to take revenge in the future? Yuan Feixiang bid farewell to Ouyang Weijian with a tinge of melancholy. However, he did not notice that Ouyang Weijian was also looking at him with a tinge of pity and confusion. The void shook, and Dao Xinglaozu slowly appeared. Ouyang Weijian looked at his own grandmaster, and said rather unwillingly, "Grandmaster, are you really not going to tell him this news, even if it's just a little hint?" Dao Xinglaozu's face was as cold as ice. He glanced at him and said, "What's the point of saying all this?" Dao Xinglaozu sighed slightly and said, "The Yuan family has gotten into big trouble. Otherwise, the Crystal Palace would not have given such a strict warning. But what exactly is the reason? There must be an explanation. But how can such a warning be convincing? Wrong. Only this kind of warning is scarier." Dao Xinglaozu, who had a stern look on his face, had a look of insight in his eyes. He said, "That means that we are not qualified to know. Do you understand? What right do you have to be unconvinced about something that even the adepts of the late Dharma stage are not qualified to know?" Ouyang Weijian was stunned at first, and then his expression changed. But in the end, he sighed and said quietly, "We are sending him to his death." Dao Xinglaozu snorted coldly and said, "You are the future hope of our sect, but now you are so depressed. Do you still have the courage to revive the sect?" "Of course I have the courage." Ouyang Weijian suddenly raised his head, but then his eyes flashed with a hint of sadness. He said, it's just that you can't see any hope." Dao Xinglaozu's gaze seemed to penetrate Ouyang Weijian's heart, so much so that he did not dare to look directly at him. Chapter 1499. Shan Mountain was located in the heart of the Central Plains. This mountain range was located to the east of the West River, between the Yulon River and the Green Nether River. It was the closest area between the two great rivers after the West River, and Shan Mountain had always been a mysterious and unfathomable place, because the number one family in the world, the Yuan family, had lived here for generations. And now, this family, which was known as the direct descendant of the first person to open the heavens, was facing the greatest crisis since the establishment of this family. Even though the world-shocking words of ancestor Long Huai had caused all the great experts of the cultivation world above the pure Yang realm to remain silent when they obtained the news, but since the Yuan clan had been able to pass down their inheritance since the creation of the heavens until now, how could they not notice the strange situation in the cultivation world in the slightest? However, Even though the Yuan family had operated in the cultivation world for tens of thousands of years, their power could be said to be deeply rooted and intertwined. Naturally, they could sense that something was wrong from the clues in the cultivation world. However, no matter what, they would never have thought that there would be a true spirit-level cultivator who would dare to risk the wrath of the heavens to personally destroy the Yuan family. Ever since the beginning of the world, it wasn't that the Yuan family had never experienced the moment when their family was on the verge of extinction. They had even been visited by a cultivator who had just advanced to the true spirit level. That was the most dangerous moment the Yuan family had encountered since the beginning of the world. However, it was also at that time that the Yuan family was about to be killed by the true spirit-level cultivator. Unexpectedly, the entire space around Shang Mountain turned into a sea of lightning, and in the center of the sea of lightning, a gigantic gourd formed from lightning forced back the cultivator who had just become a true spirit-level cultivator. It was only at that time that the great practitioners of the cultivation world found out that Ping Doran's #1 divine artifact, the Seven Thunder Treasures Gourd, actually existed in this world, and had always been in the hands of the Yuan family. Although the true spirit-level cultivator had been able to retreat under the threat of the Seven Thunder Treasures Gourd, at the last moment, he had no choice but to use all of his potential after becoming a true spirit-level cultivator. As a result, he had been rejected by this world. This true spirit-level cultivator had already done his best to reach the northern ice plains, but in the end, he was still unable to escape the descent of the heavens. From Shang Mountain to Ying Mountain, this true spirit-level Laozu had withstood the heavens' punishment, but in the end, he had still been unable to reach the northern ice plains and had disappeared from this world. The fate of this true spirit-level cultivator caused all the great practitioners of the cultivation world to keep quiet out of fear towards the power of the #1 divine artifact. At the same time, it was at that time that the Yuan family's title as the #1 heaven-splitting family was truly established in the cultivation world. Although the Yuan family did not have an unbroken true spirit-level inheritance like the 6 sacred lands, the Yuan family still had the #1 divine artifact that could deter the true spirit-level Laozu. Coupled with the mysterious identity of the Yuan family's descendant of Ping Daoren, as well as their performance in every Mara disaster, the Yuan family had always maintained a transcendent position in the cultivation world. And now, the spirit goblin cultivator Longhua ancestor, who had just become a true spirit-level cultivator, although this person claimed to have inherited Xiao Doran's memories and bloodline, could this person really break through the Seven Thunder Treasure Calabash's protection of the Yuan family? It must be known that back then, even the Xiao Daoran was slightly inferior to the Ping Daoran who had the Seven Thunder Treasure Calabash, let alone a spirit goblin that had just become a true spirit-level cultivator. Even though the Crystal Palace's spirit wine Laozu and Skyren's Xiao Baiyu had personally witnessed the power of the Longhua ancestor, the truly powerful practitioners were still skeptical. Of course, they naturally did not mind coming to Mount Shang at this time to personally verify it. Putting aside what the Longhua ancestor wanted to prove to the entire cultivation world, just the confrontation between a true spirit-level cultivator and the #1 godly weapon of creation was enough to attract people's attention. The sky above the entire Shang mountain range had turned into a sea of lightning, causing the entire sky to be dyed purplish blue. In the center of the sea of lightning that covered the entire mountain range, a huge lightning vortex was formed. The vortex was obviously in the shape of a gourd suspended in midair. The Seven Thunder Treasure Calabash, the true #1 godly weapon of creation, the Seven Thunder Treasure Calabash. A voice shouted in Lu Ping's mind when he saw the gourd-shaped lightning object that had completely transformed into a lightning gourd in the air. At this moment, in Lu Ping's core space, the calabash began to become restless again. Lightning continuously spewed out from the mouth of the calabash, as if the Seven Thunder Treasure Calabash also wanted to suppress it. However, it came from the true Seven Thunder Treasure Calabash that had turned into lightning in the void, causing the lightning calabash in Lu Ping's core space to be unable to suppress the surging lightning in the calabash. In the end, the Dharma form of the dragon seemed to be very impatient with the calabash. With a swing of its tail, it sent the calabash flying into the suspended sea formed by the triple light's sacred water and suppressed it. Only then did it completely stop. When Lu Ping walked in the void and arrived near the Mount Shang mountain range, the auras of the pure yang cultivators from various sects that were hidden in the surrounding void could not escape Lu Ping's detection. Other than the Longhui ancestor, Lu Ping very quickly discovered Yuanjiu Laozu and Xiao Baiyu. Apart from these two, there seemed to be a faintly discernible aura that caused Lu Ping's heart to palpitate slightly. It seemed that this was also a cultivator that had attained the celestial spirit. However, he did not know if this celestial spirit Laozu was a newly ascended celestial spirit cultivator from the other holy lands or some other genius cultivator in the cultivation world. With the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash as the center, the lightning ocean that covered the entire sky above the Shang Mountain was not only protecting the land of the Yuan clan in the middle of the Shang Mountain, but at the same time, it was also raising endless waves of lightning that crashed down on forefather Longhui, who was also standing in the sky above the Shang Mountain but was also under the lightning ocean. From Lu Ping's point of view, the power of this concentrated lightning was comparable to the pure yang thunder trial of a Dharma form adept. The only thing it lacked was the kind of pressure that could activate the power of heaven and earth in this world and the pure yang qi that was contained within the lightning. However, this type of lightning that was enough to make the hearts of all the pure yang Laozu palpitate was easily dispelled by the Longhui ancestor when it landed around him. Other than Lu Ping, Xiao Baiyu, and Yuanjiu Laozu, everyone, including the adept that Lu Ping did not recognize who had just become a celestial soul, could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. It must be known that this type of lightning was not weaker than the first 3 lightning strikes of the pure yang thunder trial. It was not like the pure yang thunder trial which only had 9 lightning strikes. Even Xiao Baiyu and Yuanjiu Laozu, who had already become a celestial soul, could not help but feel their scalps go numb. However, in front of the Longhui ancestor, it did not seem to matter at all. Lu Ping's eyes shone with a strange light, followed by a similarly shocked expression on his face. However, compared to the others, his reaction seemed to be slightly slower. However, at this time, although Lu Ping was initially shocked by the power of the Longhui ancestor, he soon discovered something else that he could not believe. How is this possible? According to the words of the dragon soaring galaxy art, becoming a true spirit is when a cultivator condenses the first source energy of the cultivation technique attribute and has the qualifications to leave this world. However, once the true spirit cultivator cultivates this source energy to perfection in this world, it would be the time for the heavenly punishment to descend. As a result, in this world, no cultivator can cultivate their source energy to perfection. According to the secret technique that Jiao Daoren left in the dragon soaring galaxy art, not only has the Longhui ancestor become a true spirit, he has also cultivated his wood source to perfection in one go. But why didn't the heavenly punishment descend? Why is he still able to exist in this world? Isn't this the opposite of what Jiao Daoren said? Lu Ping suppressed the doubts in his heart with great difficulty. When he looked up at the sky above Shang Mountain, the Longhui ancestor had already braved countless lightning powers that were not weaker than the pure yang thunder tribulation and walked towards the center of the Sea of Lightning. He was only one step away from the heaven-splitting artifact that had completely turned into lightning. Chapter 1500. To Lu Ping, the Longhui ancestor had actually pushed the wood source that he had condensed after achieving true soul to the realm of perfection. This was even more shocking than the 7 treasure thunder calabash that had appeared in the sky above the Yuan clan's Shang Mountain. This number 1 divine artifact that opened the heavens is actually only able to display such a tiny bit of might in the hands of juniors like you. If Daoist Ping were to find out about this, I'm afraid he could only sigh helplessly. The Longhui ancestor's voice directly penetrated the thunder in the sky and clearly reached the ears of everyone around Shang Mountain. Not only the cultivators of the Yuan clan, but even the pure yang cultivators hiding in the void to watch the battle changed their expressions. The power displayed by the 7 treasure thunder calabash was enough to shock everyone who came to watch the battle. They sighed at the tyrannical power of this number one artifact. However, in their opinion, it was already unbelievable that the power of this artifact could not suppress the Longhui ancestor. To be able to do this, the Longhui ancestor should have done his best. At least, he should have taken it seriously, and had no time to care about anything else. But what was going on now? It seemed that the power of this heaven-opening artifact could not cause the slightest obstacle to the Longhui ancestor. Countless thoughts intertwined in the void. At this moment, these pure yang cultivators who came to watch the battle with various purposes finally understood why the Crystal Palace's Yuan Jiao Laozu, Skyren Xiaobayu, and other cultivators who had also achieved true soul would be so obedient to a spirit demon cultivator who had just appeared in the East Sea. Who are you? When has the Yuan clan ever offended you? Why are you making things difficult for my clan? A low voice sounded out from an area that was protected by the Seven Treasures Lightning Calabash's light barrier, and it seemed intermittent under the cover of the rumbling thunder in the sky. Compared to Patriarch Longhui's voice that was able to easily penetrate and even suppress the thunderclaps, it simply couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Fortunately, the Longhui ancestor and the cultivators hiding in the void were all top powerful figures in the cultivation world. They could still hear this serious but extremely weak question. Those who were familiar with the speaker could also tell that the speaker should be the current family head of the Yuan clan, Yuan Paiyan. The Yuan clan has naturally never offended the old man, and you don't have the right to offend the old man. However, the purpose of the Yuan clan's existence since the creation of the world has offended the entire cultivation world, and has become an obstacle to the entire cultivation world. The old man is here today to expose the conspiracy that the Yuan clan has been protecting since the creation of the world. The Longhui ancestor's voice was still clear and powerful in the rolling thunder. Not only did it directly pass through the light curtain of the Seven Treasure Thunder Calabash, it also clearly fell into the ears of every powerful figure hiding in the void. As soon as the Longhui ancestor's voice fell, the expected silence did not happen. Instead, a voice sounded. What do you mean? The Yuan clan doesn't understand. You are a true spirit cultivator, but you dare to attack the cultivation world so recklessly. Aren't you afraid of being rejected by the world and being punished by the heavens? This wasn't Yuan Potion's voice from before. However, he was also a pure yang cultivator to be able to clearly transmit his year to the surroundings of Shang Mountain in the face of the vast might of the heavens and earth summoned by the Seven Treasure Lightning Gourd. Lu Ping sighed in his heart. As expected of the number one clan in the cultivation world. After the two pure yang cultivators, Yuan Tongtian and Yuan Daotian, died in the North Sea, the Yuan clan still had two pure yang cultivators. If Yuan Xiaotian died in the Battle of Luoxin Mountain, the entire Yuan clan had at least 5 pure yang cultivators. This kind of strength was only one true spirit cultivator weaker than the 6 sacred lands. The Longhui ancestor looked up to the sky and laughed. He pushed his palms forward, and the spiritual qi in the world became turbulent. The spiritual qi in a radius of tens of miles instantly gathered in the Longhui ancestor's palms to form 2 emerald-green one-horned dragons. They then slammed into the light curtain hanging down from the 7 treasure thunder calabash. The moment the 2 green dragons slammed into the light curtain, the shocking thunderstorm directly shattered the thoughts of the powerful beings in the world. All the pure yang cultivators, including Lu Ping, experienced a moment of absent-mindedness. Even their ears could not hear anything. Then, their entire vision was dyed white with lightning. Before everyone could react from this shocking scene, the Longhui ancestor's voice had once again penetrated the cover brought by the thunderstorm and drilled into the ears of Lu Ping and the others. Divine punishment? What a joke! You naturally know what the old man means, but the old man is more willing to prove it to everyone personally. The white light finally dissipated gradually, but Lu Ping could not wait to see the scene after the battle. This time, Lu Ping's eyes burst out a green-gold light. After Lu Ping achieved the pure Yang Dharma form, the dragon bloodline that originally originated from the lone eagle had been completely melted into one. Lu Ping's pupil sorcery had also reached a perfect state. The lightning was dazzling, but Lu Ping's 3 pure eyes could already see through the cover of the lightning and see the situation in the sky above Shang Mountain. The Longhui ancestor did not break the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash's protection of the Yuan family. However, the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash, which was made of lightning suspended in the void, was constantly shaking in the air at this time. The original dark purple lightning gradually faded, and the light curtain that hung down also faded its original color. It looked gradually white. At this time, the voice of Yuan Patian came from the void. It is rumored that half a year ago, the Longhui ancestor of the spirit demon clan in Dahai achieved the real spirit. He said that he wanted to make the fallen ruins the territory of the spirit demon clan. The Crystal Palace in Skyren did not dare to provoke him. May I ask if your excellency is the Longhui ancestor? Although forefather Longhui's scheme against the Yuan family was top secret, it was impossible to hide the fact that forefather Longhui had broken through the myriad poison firmament wall that day. Not to mention that the Yuan family had been operating since the opening of the sky until now. Who knew how many spies in the cultivation world had been helping them gather information about the cultivation world? The situation in the Eastern Sea had changed, and the Yuan family naturally knew about it. Therefore, it was not strange for them to guess the identity of forefather Longhui. However, the Longhui ancestor laughed and said, "You really know the old man. Since you already know that the old man came from the fallen ruins, I think you should also know the identity of the old man. I think the person who was regarded as an ancestor by you should have left something for you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see a few people showing off their thunder magic every time the heavenly poisonous wall was opened." This time, there was a moment of silence in the residence of the Yuan family. Normally, no one would notice it. However, if the many top great mediums who were watching the battle were paying attention in advance, the meaning of this short silence of the Yuan family would be magnified infinitely in the hearts of everyone. Your Excellency's words are inexplicable. How would the Yuan family know what Your Excellency means? However, Your Excellency is so aggressive. Do you think you can make the Yuan family bow our heads and admit defeat? The Yuan family has been passed down since the beginning of the world. Pindoran's blood flows in our bloodline. How can the glory of the first Laozu of the world be lost from the Yuan family? If Your Excellency wants to achieve your goal, please go through the barrier of the first divine weapon of the world. The one who spoke was another pure yang cultivator other than Yuan Patian. Lu Ping had already consulted Xiao Baiyu before and learned that this person was the 6th cultivator of the first generation of the Yuan family, Yuan Tsengtian. The Longhui ancestor's shocking attack did not cause any damage to the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash's protection. Such a result obviously gave Yuan Patian and Yuan Tsengtian a lot of confidence. As he spoke, the Longhui ancestor pointed to the sky again. Another 3 strange one-horned dragons descended from the sky and charged directly at the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash from different directions. This time, many of the great magical powers watching the battle were prepared in advance. All kinds of protective magical powers were secretly cast so that at least they would not become deaf and blind the moment the magical powers of both sides erupted. However, the result of the battle this time was beyond everyone's expectations. The magical powers that they imagined did not appear. The moment the 3 strange dragons collided with the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash, they were engulfed by the condensed gourd-shaped lightning. At most, it only made the number 1 divine weapon of the world hovering in midair vibrate a little more violently. This time, even Ancestor Longhui, who'd always caused others to feel that he was carefree, was stunned, and his relaxed expression had become much more solemn. At this moment, the voice of Yuan Tsengtian reverberated in the void again. The Yuan family has been standing since the creation of the world. Our history is even earlier than the 6 sacred grounds. There is a reason for our existence. Your Excellency has also said that the Yuan family is inherited from the 7th patriarch of the world of creation, Pingdaoren. Naturally, we are not afraid of Your Excellency. However, if this goes on, will Your Excellency and the Yuan family both suffer? Both suffer? The Longhui ancestor sneered and said, "You think you are worthy? Chapter 1501. The Seven Thunder Treasures calabash withstood the attacks of the Longhua ancestor twice in a row, which obviously made the Yuan clan more or less confident. Although they were still shocked by the tyrannical strength of the Longhua ancestor, they had already tried to make peace with the Longhua ancestor and persuade the other party to retreat. The Longhua ancestor sneered and said, "Both sides are injured. Do you think you are worthy?" Because the Pure Yang clan knew the reason in advance, they naturally knew that the Longhua ancestor could not retreat. In their opinion, the Longhua ancestor had already boasted in the entire cultivation world. If they left anticlimactic, they would probably be suppressed by the entire cultivation world. No matter how strong the Longhua ancestor was, he would not dare to be the enemy of the entire cultivation world. However, although these great mediums were shocked by the strength that the Longhua ancestor had shown, they more or less disapproved of it. Some of them even felt that it was a pity. Because, not long after the Longhua ancestor appeared in the East Sea, another shocking news came from the North Sea. The Yuan clan actually took advantage of the North Sea water sword celestial Lu Tianping going south to the East Sea to participate in the Phantom Island meeting to launch a sneak attack on Jinling. However, in the end, the Yuan clan was defeated, and the two Pure Yang clan died in the North Sea. The first news was more or less puzzling. They even wondered why the Yuan clan would make such a stupid move. Did they think that they could kill Jinling by avoiding Lu Tianping? Even if they could break through the Heavenly Spirit Island, how would they deal with the crazy revenge of Lu Tianping after he returned from the East Sea? Although these people knew about the game between the Crystal Palace, Jinling, and Skyrend in the East Sea that day, they did not know that Lu Tianping and Xiao Baiyu had a thrilling fight with the two true spirit cultivators from the Crystal Palace in the void of the fallen secret land. The Yuan clan had obviously received the secret instructions from the Crystal Palace in advance, or it was a conspiracy between the two clans, which was why they dared to act boldly in the North Sea. The development of the following events also concealed the tacit understanding between the two clans. Lu Tianping's strength surpassed that of Laozu's, Xiao Baiyu's sudden breakthrough into the true spirit realm at the critical moment, and the appearance of Longhua ancestor. These things happened one after another, which made everyone's attention finally focused on the appearance of Longhua ancestor. However, they ignored the fact that Lu Tianping almost died under the pursuit of Laozu. Therefore, no one realized that this was a conspiracy between the Crystal Palace and the Yuan clan. Although Lu Ping was well aware of this, Jinling was still at a disadvantage against the Crystal Palace, so this matter was not publicized in the end. Even so, the result was still beyond everyone's expectations. The two Pure Yang cultivators, Yuan Tongtian and Yuan Daotian, had actually died in the North Sea. This huge turn of events could no longer be described as shocking to the entire cultivation world. Faced with this large sect from a remote place in the North Sea, it suddenly became so mysterious and powerful in the cultivation world. Two Pure Yang cultivators, how was it possible? But in Jinling, other than the brilliant water sword immortal, Lu Tianping, who else could kill two Pure Yang cultivators in one fell swoop? Even if it was the Pure Yang water sword immortal, it would probably not be easy for him to kill two Pure Yang cultivators by himself. Moreover, the cultivators of the Yuan family had never been weak among cultivators of the same level in the cultivation world, and Lu Tianping was not in the North Sea at that time. Just as the entire cultivation world was trembling in fear, two pieces of news came from the East Sea and the North Sea. It seemed to make everyone who was confused suddenly see the light, but it also made them even more afraid. The news from the East Sea seemed to have come from the Fire Phoenix clan. This large demon clan had suffered a great loss at the hands of Jinling. Even their Pure Yang clan leader had died in the North Sea and their vitality had been greatly damaged. They had been silent in the East Sea for many years, but not only had they not been able to revive after more than 100 years of recuperation, their other Pure Yang cultivator, Laozu, had reached the end of his lifespan. Because of this, a piece of news came from the cultivators of the Fire Phoenix clan who had participated in the battle on Scarlet Mist Island in the North Sea. Back then, the Fire Phoenix clan had fought with Jinling on Scarlet Mist Island for the sake of fighting for the relics of the Luan Taoist. According to the Fire Phoenix clan leader at that time, the relics of the Luan Taoist should contain the heaven-splitting remarkable power that the Luan Taoist had personally sealed within it. Soon, another piece of news came from the North Sea. This piece of news was obtained from Jinling's disciples in the North Sea. In fact, it could not be considered a secret. After all, the battle on Tianling Mountain had been witnessed by thousands of Jinling's cultivators. Although they did not know what method the celestial phenomenon Laozu had used, they had seen with their own eyes that the two pure yang cultivators of the Yuan clan had been burned into nothingness by a flame summoned by the celestial phenomenon Laozu's seven-colored tail feather that could even burn through the void. This piece of news undoubtedly confirmed the information that had come from the Fire Phoenix clan. The flame that was sealed in the seven-colored feather, and could even burn through the void. Who else could it be other than Taoist Luan's relic? Luan Taoist had personally sealed the heaven-splitting divine power. The two pure yang cultivators of the Yuan clan did not die in vain. Many people were gloating over Jinling sect's misfortune, but more people were worried about the new sect, Jinling sect. How many shocking and unknown secrets were hidden in this seemingly shallow large sect? The seven-colored tail feather that sealed the heaven-splitting divine power of the Luan Taoist. Jinling only had one feather in his possession, or did he have many? If it was the latter, the great divinities from the various sects who understood this all sucked in a breath of cold air. When they looked at this North Sea sect again, they had no choice but to be cautious. Naturally, Lu Ping didn't know that the battle on Tianling Mountain would have such a huge impact on Jinling sect's status in the cultivation world. But he could still sense the fear, awe, and even a hint of flattery from the great presences in the void. Was it possible that the great presences were afraid of Jinling sect and himself? This Yuan clan is really digging their own grave. They just had to provoke that person in the North Sea. In the end, before that person could make a move, they had already lost two pure yang cultivators. They are too arrogant. How many great divines in the cultivation world have suffered under the hands of the Water Sword Immortal? If the two pure yang cultivators of the Yuan clan were still here, I think the situation in Shang Mountain would be different. This Longhui ancestor is so powerful. Even so, he might not be able to destroy the Yuan clan under the protection of the Seven Thunder Treasures calabash. It's not necessary. The reason why this Longhui ancestor attacked the Yuan clan is just to prove that terrifying theory to the entire cultivation world. It seems that if this secret is true, it should be hidden in the Yuan clan's territory. The old man also thinks so. You have to know that all the great sects, although each of them has unlimited glory in the cultivation world, which one of them is not a cunning rabbit with 3 burrows? Even a sacred ground like the 9 mystical towers secretly sent their 3 generations of direct disciples to different places before they sealed their mountain. Now that the 9 mystical tower has been destroyed by the 10 pure yang clans, the legacy of the 9 mystical tower has not been severed. However, at this time, in the old territory of the 9 mystical tower, the various sects have long been fighting for territory. When the 9 mystical tower cultivators return, I'm afraid there will be a good show to watch. That's right. The cultivators of the Yuan clan have always traveled the world to monitor Mara's calamity. It can be said that they have spread all over the world. I'm afraid it's impossible to completely destroy the Yuan clan. Speaking of which, it seems that a few days ago, a disciple of the clan reported seeing the most outstanding 3rd-generation cultivator of the Yuan clan, Yuan Feixiang, in the southern part of the Middle Earth. Rumor has it that he participated in the Battle of Tianling Mountain in the North Sea and then disappeared. It was originally thought that he had fallen in the North Sea, but unexpectedly he survived. Lu Ping was stunned when he heard this news. Yuan Feixiang was on his kill list, but he had not found any traces of him before. However, it seemed that this person was not in the territory of the Yuan clan, which allowed him to escape. At this moment, the battle situation in the mountain changed again. The Longhui ancestor kept gathering strange flood dragons with his hands. Every time he withdrew his hands, 5 strange flood dragons would fly out. However, the 7 Thunder Treasures calabash was worthy of being the #1 divine artifact for opening the heavens, and it still firmly guarded the territory of the Yuan clan. However, the 7 Thunder Treasures calabash, which had already turned into a ball of solid lightning, was shaking more and more violently in the sky. It even began to slowly drift away from the territory, and the color of the condensed lightning became dimmer and dimmer. Hee, descendants of the mixed-feathered bird, are you still not going to use the method that he left for you? The Longhua ancestor's words seemed to be filled with hatred and sarcasm towards the ancestor of the Yuan clan, Ping Daoren. Chapter 1502. Longhua ancestor's mockery didn't affect Yuan family in the slightest. Even with the lightning barrier, Lu Ping and the rest could still see the cultivators of Yuan family coming and going in the encampment clearly. Although they were busy, they were moving in an orderly manner. It seemed like they were using the power of the family to maintain the 7 treasures lightning calabash that was used to protect the family. The #1 family of heaven opening truly lived up to its name. The lightning tribulation clouds in the surroundings continued to gather in the sky above mountain of Shang. The color of the 7 treasures lightning calabash that was slightly dim changed once again after absorbing the surrounding thunderclouds. Lightning continued to fall from the sky. Lu Ping was astonished. The power of the lightning technique divine art had been strengthened. In Lu Ping's perception, each lightning that fell had at least the power of the 4th bolt of pure yang lightning tribulation. There were 9 bolts of pure yang lightning tribulation. Normally, the power of every 3 bolts of lightning tribulation would increase qualitatively. When the 7 treasures lightning calabash rained down 3 bolts of lightning that were equivalent to the 4th bolt of pure yang lightning tribulation, Longhua ancestor finally didn't dare to ignore it. His body that had been standing in front of the lightning barrier finally moved back, avoiding the most powerful strike of the lightning. Just as Longhua ancestor avoided the direct strike of the lightning, his body suddenly appeared in the same spot again. The remaining power of the lightning divine art was still there, but at this moment, Longhua ancestor didn't care about this bit of power at all. This time, Longhua ancestor suddenly raised his hands, and an illusion of a forest suddenly appeared above his head. The sudden appearance of the forest caused all the great divine arts practitioners to cry out in astonishment. This was because they could sense that the appearance of the forest wasn't an illusion at all. Instead, it seemed to be real. This was because the lightning that fell from the 7 treasures lightning calabash was completely blocked by the forest. Countless lightning bolts wreaked havoc in the forest, causing broken branches and leaves to fly everywhere. The forest was a mess, and everything looked extremely real. Only Lu Ping had a grave expression on his face, and he seemed to be deep in thought. This was because Lu Ping's spiritual force could sense that this forest also seemed to be real. However, in this forest illusion, Lu Ping could feel an extremely familiar aura, and this was not the first time this familiar feeling had appeared. Previously, when the Longhua ancestor absorbed the spiritual energy of the world within a radius of tens of miles, and used it to summon several emerald green wood dragons, this familiar feeling lingered. Lu Ping's eyes were already dyed purple gold as he stared at the forest above his head. That's right, this forest wasn't a real existence, and it couldn't block the 7 treasures thunder calabash's lightning barrier. However, it was able to surround the barrier and completely block the 7 treasures thunder calabash's lightning power. This forest illusion was similar to Lu Ping's art of deceiving the heavens and crossing the sea. The method that the Longhua ancestor used to condense the spiritual energy of the world to form the emerald green wood dragons was very similar to the heaven-opening swordsmanship that Lu Ping had inherited from Jiao Daoren. No wonder Lu Ping felt this extremely familiar feeling. After thinking about this, Lu Ping's expression became even more solemn. Although the Longhua ancestor's magic power and Lu Ping's North Sea 12 techniques seemed to have the same root, the Longhua ancestor's magic power was far superior to Lu Ping in terms of understanding and power of the magic power. At this moment, When Lu Ping looked at the Longhui ancestor, he wanted to use it as a reference. This was a rare opportunity for Lu Ping. Just as the illusion blocked the seven treasures lightning calabash's bombardment, the Longhui ancestor suddenly reached out a finger and directly pierced the lightning shield in front of him. Countless lightning bolts began to explode the moment the finger touched the lightning shield. However, the Longhui ancestor remained unmoved. Under everyone's gaze, a pop sound rang in everyone's heart. The Longhui ancestor's finger easily pierced a hole in the lightning shield protecting the Yuan clan. A loud shout suddenly sounded from the Yuan clan's encampment. A tanned, short, and muscular man with a full beard soared into the sky from the Yuan clan's encampment. He held a large mace in his hand and fiercely smashed the finger that the Longhui ancestor had pierced through the lightning shield. Yuan Heaven has made a move! The thoughts in the surroundings allowed Lu Ping to easily identify the person in front of him. The mace in his hand should be the second tribulation's spiritual treasure, Thunderthorn. The power of this spiritual treasure is not to be underestimated. It is very famous in the cultivation world. Look, what? That can't be. Following the exclamations of the crowd, Lu Ping looked up and saw that the Longhui ancestor's finger suddenly began to split. Shoots appeared on the fingertip. In an instant, several thick branches burst out from the shoots. Countless branches and leaves began to grow. With the finger that the Longhui ancestor had pierced through the lightning shield as the center, the crown of the tree formed a huge fan shape. It looked like an old pine tree growing on a cliff. As Yuan Heaven's hammer smashed down, countless thunderbolts exploded from the bottom of the hammer. The first branch and leaves that came into contact with the mace were instantly turned into ashes. The overgrown branches and leaves immediately fell down with sparks caused by the thunder explosion. The thick branches ignited into raging flames and smashed into the Yuan clan's encampment. Countless houses were instantly set ablaze. The disciples of the Yuan clan, who were originally performing their respective duties in the encampment, finally panicked because they could not extinguish the fire. However, the canopy formed by the branches and leaves was too huge. Although Yuan Heaven's attack was extremely powerful, it only scratched the surface of the huge canopy that was still growing. Yuan Heaven did not expect that his all-out attack would not be able to do anything to the opponent's finger. He was shocked and hesitated for a moment. It was at this moment that countless branches and leaves extended toward Yuan Heaven's position. They vaguely formed a huge cage in midair as if they wanted to trap him inside. Yuan Heaven was horrified. He swept the spiritual treasure in his hand in front of him, and countless branches and leaves turned into ashes under the thunderbolts. However, before he could rush out of the encirclement, more branches and leaves grew rapidly and surged toward him. For a moment, Yuan Heaven could not keep up with the growth of these branches and leaves. Yuan Heaven panicked for a moment. Fortunately, at this moment, the illusion of the jungle above Longhui ancestor's head suddenly collapsed. The power of the thunderbolts from the seven treasures thunder calabash increased again. Longhui ancestor was caught off guard and could only divert his attention to resist. At this moment, another ray of light rose from the station. Yuan Patian raised his hand and a thunderbolt weaved into a net in midair. The canopy that was covered by the thunderbolt net suddenly ignited into a raging fire and turned into ashes in a short time. Yuan Heaven took the opportunity to attack. The two pure yangs coordinated from the inside and outside and finally broke through the canopy that almost covered the entire sky above the Yuan clan station. Big brother, this person is really powerful. There's something strange about this, Yuan Heaven said while panting the moment he met up with Yuan Patian. Yuan Patian nodded. He understood the unspoken meaning in Yuan Heaven's words. He raised his head to look at the figure standing outside the station, and a hint of worry flashed across his eyes. Sixth brother, I'm afraid it's not just this Longhui ancestor this time. I don't know how many people are hiding in the void around Shang Mountain. This is obviously a conspiracy against our Yuan clan. What? Yuan Heaven's expression changed drastically. Could it be that these people really know something? Yuan Patian shook his head slowly and said, I don't know, But I'm afraid this is really the most dangerous moment our Yuan clan has faced since the beginning of the world. This Longhua ancestor has always been strange. The ancestors of the Yuan clan have come into contact with many celestial spirit cultivators since ancient times, but there has never been a celestial spirit Laozu who is as unbelievably powerful as this Longhua ancestor. Even the 7 Thunder Gem Calabash can't do anything to this person. When the two of them looked up, they saw that the condensed lightning on the surface of the 7 Thunder Gem Calabash that was floating above the Yuan clan had faded away. A small purple calabash was revealed, floating in the void and looking very ordinary. But it was precisely this small and exquisite gourd that caused the expression of Ancestor Longhua, who'd always been filled with confidence, to change at this moment, and he seemed to be shocked by this violet-skinned gourd as he said with shock, "I never expected that mixed-feathered bird would actually be willing to leave such a trump card for all of you juniors." When Yuan Heaven saw that the 7 Thunder Gem Calabash had actually revealed its true form in the void, he panicked and said, "Big brother, you..." Chapter 1503. When Yuan Sengtian saw the 7 Thunder Gem Calabash reveal its true form in the void, he panicked and said, "Big brother, you..." Yuan Patian reached out to stop Yuan Sengtian and said, "Sixth brother, third brother and seventh brother are already dead. You and I are the only two pure yang cultivators left in the Yuan clan. Now that the enemy is on the chopping block and I'm at the mercy of the enemy, I don't care if I can fight for a chance of survival for the Yuan clan." Yuan Sengtian reached out to stop him and said, "Big brother, as the patriarch of the Yuan clan, the legacy and mission of the Yuan clan for tens of thousands of years are all on you alone. Since you want to sacrifice yourself, I'm also a pure yang cultivator, and that's enough." Yuan Patian pressed his shoulder with one hand, and Yuan Sengtian immediately felt as if he was being suppressed by a mountain. He wanted to break free, but he couldn't. Although they were both pure yang cultivators, there was a difference in their cultivation. It was only now that Yuan Sengtian clearly felt the real gap between him and Yuan Patian. "Big brother." Yuan Patian shook his head and said seriously, "Sixth brother, there's no need to say anything. This 7 Thunder Gem Calabash is the legacy of our ancestor, Ping Daoren. It's the #1 divine weapon when the world opened. There are many subtle mysteries in it that can only be passed down by the patriarchs. Not to mention, with your cultivation, how can the power that can be triggered after the sacrifice be compared to mine?" Yuan Sengtian still wanted to say something, but his body was restrained by Yuan Patian, who said solemnly, "Sixth brother, you should know the consequences of the sacrifice. Without the suppression of the 7 Thunder Gem Calabash, our ancestors will be exposed to the world. Our Yuan clan will not be tolerated by the entire cultivation world. Sixth brother, whether our clan can survive or not depends on you." With that, Yuan Potian's figure slowly rose from the Yuan clan's residence again. Yuan Sengtian watched as his brother was about to die because of the forbidden technique. The grief and indignation on his face intensified, and he wanted to struggle again. However, he suddenly heard Yuan Potian's angry rebuke in his mind. "Sixth brother, do you want the Yuan clan to perish forever?" Yuan Sengtian's body trembled, but he finally stopped struggling. The forbidden technique that imprisoned him also disappeared in an instant. Yuan Sengtian looked up and saw that Yuan Patian was already floating at the bottom of the 7 Thunder Gem Calabash. Even the Longhua ancestor seemed to have sensed the danger. Not only did he retract his finger from the lightning screen, he even retreated dozens of yards. He stared at Yuan Patian with his hands behind his back, and his expression became even more solemn. Yuan Patian took a deep breath and suddenly said in a loud voice, "I know that all the great practitioners of the cultivation world have gathered around Shang Mountain today, but can anyone tell the Yuan clan the reason for this? The Yuan clan has never done anything to harm the cultivation world since the creation of the heavens. On the contrary, we have always been cautious and have always been kind to others. Every time the calamity of Mara broke out, the Yuan clan was the first to warn and charge. Since the creation of the heavens until now, the number of cultivators from our clan who have fallen in the battle against the calamity of Mara has reached 12 pure young cultivators, no less than 30 grand cultivators, and countless above the Dharma plane. Why did today's calamity happen? Longhua ancestor, the Yuan clan has also heard of your fame and background. You grew up in the secret land of the East Sea, and the Yuan clan has nothing to do with you. Why are you forcing the Yuan clan today? Is it because of the groundless heaven-opening conspiracy that you have mentioned? Do you have any evidence? Do you want to decide the life and death of the thousands of people in the Yuan clan based on your words alone? All the powerful Taoist friends of the cultivation world, our Yuan family has fought against the demon Luo calamity many times, and we have made some contributions to the cultivation world. Many of the martial sects have also made all kinds of promises and favors. Today, our Yuan family would like to make a promise first. If you can help our Yuan family get out of this calamity, all the favors from before will be written off. How about that? Even though Yuan Patian had already made up his mind to sacrifice his body to the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash in exchange for greater power to repel the Longhua ancestor, he still wanted to struggle in the end. In reality, the words of Yuan Patian weren't without effect. Just as he had said before, the Longhua ancestor was just his own words, and all the great practitioners of divine arts were more or less skeptical. It was just that the words of the Longhua ancestor were too shocking, and his strength was truly unseen, so they had been watching from the sidelines when the Longhua ancestor attacked the Yuan clan, not bothering about it at all. Yuan Potion's sincere words made many of the great practitioners of divine arts who had come to watch the battle feel sympathy. After all, from the opening of the heavens until now, the foundation of the Yuan clan fighting against the calamity of Mara alone had saved countless lives. There were even some sects that had inherited the life-saving grace of the Yuan clan. If it wasn't for the fact that the Longhua ancestor had been too domineering previously, there would have been people who would have jumped out to stop him long ago. But since that was the case, under Yuan Potion's words, the great practitioners of divine arts hidden in the surrounding void also became restless. The Longhua ancestor had long sensed it, and he laughed coldly. What a sharp tongue, what a noble Yuan clan! Your Yuan clan has always made good calculations. Old man, let me ask you, why is it that every time the calamity of Mara breaks out, your Yuan clan is always able to accurately appear at the place where the calamity of Mara occurs? Why is it that only the divine arts and spells of your Yuan clan are able to restrain the calamity of Mara? All of this is merely because your Yuan clan is the source of the calamity of Mara eruption for your own sake. Shut up! Yuan Patian said angrily. Your Excellency keeps saying that my Yuan clan is harboring evil intentions, but it's all just speculation without any evidence. How can I be convinced? The Longhua ancestor sneered. There will naturally be evidence after I destroy your Yuan clan. Yuan Potion's beard and hair stood on end as he scolded loudly. Your Excellency bullies others with your power. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you've become a true spirit? Today, you can destroy my Yuan clan without any reason. Tomorrow, are you going to find a random excuse to destroy another sect? Fellow Tao friends of the cultivation world, this Longhua ancestor is scheming to destroy my Yuan clan. I think this person is the true mastermind behind the calamity of Mara. If he destroys my Yuan clan, when the calamity of Mara rises again in the future, will there still be anyone in the cultivation world who can charge into the enemy lines? Once Yuan Patian said this, a commotion broke out among the great divine arts practitioners hiding in the surrounding void. Even Lu Ping, who had a deep understanding of the Longhua ancestor, couldn't help being more careful. Flowery words, just watch as the old man destroys your Yuan clan. This time, it was obvious that even the Longhua ancestor couldn't sit still. He took a look at the purple bottle gourd that was floating in midair and resolutely rushed towards Yuan Patian. Compared to the great divine arts practitioners of various sects who had different thoughts, Lu Ping's attention was placed on Origin Wine Laozu, Xiao Baiyu, and another new true spirit cultivator. In reality, no matter how impassioned Yuan Patian was, The only ones who had the ability to stop the Longhua ancestor were the three true spirit cultivators in front of him. It was obvious that the three true spirit cultivators had chosen to watch from the sidelines for some reason. Boom! The loud noise caused Lu Ping to focus his attention on the sky above Mount Shang once again. The body of the Longhua ancestor suddenly swelled up and countless wood-flood dragons appeared around him. Each of them was a branch or a root of the dragon pagoda tree. With a full-force attack, the entire Seven Treasures Thunder Calabash was pushed back 10 feet in midair. The lightning barrier that hung down continued to search inwards, completely exposing the outskirts of the Yuan clan's encampment. Countless pavilions and buildings, as well as the valley below, collapsed under the screams and cries of numerous cultivators of the Yuan clan. Chapter 1504. How could a celestial being, Lao Tzu, give up halfway when he was determined to do something? Naturally, those powerful beings would not be easily bewitched by others. Although Yuan Potion's words had caused many people to secretly have thoughts, no one would go against a celestial being, Lao Tzu, for the sake of a mere Yuan clan. Moreover, this celestial being's strength seemed to have far exceeded the understanding of celestial beings in the cultivation world. How could Yuan Patian not be aware that all of this was merely his final struggle that he was unwilling to accept? When he saw the unprecedentedly formidable might revealed by Ancestor Longhuai's attack, the last trace of hope in Yuan Potion's heart was completely wiped away. Sacrifice! Yuan Potion's body suddenly disintegrated in midair. A strange suction force suddenly came from the purple calabash, and the dripping flesh and blood were sucked into the purple calabash. The Seven Thunder Gem Calabash, which had been retreating in midair under Longhua Ancestor's attack, suddenly shook in the air, and then a faint trace of captivating red was smeared on its original purple skin. Longhua Ancestor, who was about to tear the lightning barrier again, suddenly stopped. When he looked up at the Seven Thunder Gem Calabash, he heard a tearing sound coming from midair. The Seven Thunder Gem Calabash seemed to be nurturing some peerless ferocious creature, and it violently trembled in midair. Not good! An unprecedented palpitation filled Lu Ping's heart. Lu Ping retreated without thinking. It was not only Lu Ping, many of the pure young beings from various sects who were watching the battle felt something was wrong the moment Yuan Patian sacrificed himself, and they also flew back. At this moment, the purple-red Seven Thunder Gem Calabash suddenly spat out a slender seven-colored lightning light. After the lightning light flew out of the calabash, it actually circled lightly in midair, and turned into a small seven-colored bird. The bird spread its wings in the wind, and a long cry shook Lu Ping's ears. When he looked again, it was still a giant ping that was hundreds of feet long, and its wings were nearly 100 feet long. It soared into the sky, and there were traces of lightning flashing on its seven-colored wings. It was like the overlord of this world, controlling the life and death of all living beings in this world, and it was awe-inspiring and inviolable. At this moment, Longhua Ancestor seemed to have thought of something. He first came to a realization, and then he said in surprise, "Lei Ling, I think you are Lei Ling! I didn't expect the Yuan clan to have such means, to be able to summon you out of the Seven Thunder Gem Calabash." An emerald green aura circled around Longhua Ancestor, and the silhouettes of dragons circled around him. The moment the lightning ping saw these dragon silhouettes, it was as if it had recognized a mortal enemy. Its eyes instantly turned blood red, and its whole body was filled with hostility. The lightning rock flapped its wings, and then its entire body transformed into a flowing light that charged towards Ancestor Longhua. After that, the entire sky transformed into an ocean of lightning. Space was torn apart as mountain after mountain was sliced down, leveled, shattered, and collapsed, and numerous miserable cries and roars of dragons resounded out amidst all of this. At this time, even if Lu Ping used his 3 pure true pupils with all his might, he could only barely see 2 gigantic shadows flickering up and down within the entire Shang mountain range. Other than him, only the three true spirit cultivators could keep up with the process of the two shouting, and the rest of the pure yang cultivators could only clearly see a ball of green chi and a ball of lightning dancing up and down in the sky. Wherever they passed, mountains and rivers would crumble and the void would explode. Lu Ping seemed to have sensed something, and when he suddenly raised his head to look, he saw that the purplish-red color on the surface of the Seven Thunder Treasures calabash that was originally floating above the Yuan family's encampment was slowly fading away, and the entire Seven Thunder Treasures calabash's body seemed to be slowly fading away, as if it was an illusion that did not exist. Lu Ping wanted to investigate, but at this time, he did not dare to act rashly. When he lowered his head to look again, there seemed to be some changes in the Yuan family's encampment. In Lu Ping's perception, there seemed to be a lot of life force disappearing from the encampment one after another. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. He thought to himself that it was not because someone was killed by the battle between the Longhua ancestor and Lei Peng. It should be because the Yuan family had opened some secret channel to send the disciples away from Shang Mountain to preserve the bloodline of the family. Although Lu Ping's perception was greatly affected by the battle in front of him, he still did his best to investigate the surrounding void. However, he did not find the slightest fluctuation in space. He knew that this must be a hidden life-saving method of the Yuan family, but such a method could not be used on a large scale. Therefore, only a small portion of the Yuan family's elite could escape from the violent spatial fluctuations caused by the battle between the two sides. The battle between the Longhua ancestor and Lei Ping continued. However, even though it was extremely difficult for Lu Ping to grasp the process of the battle, Lu Ping could still roughly see that the Longhua ancestor was at a disadvantage. The emerald green light and the rainbow lightning light that represented the two of them were evenly matched in the beginning, but very quickly, the rainbow lightning light took up a large portion of the light. The Longhua ancestor's entire body was almost wrapped up in the lightning light. Not only did Lu Ping gasp at this scene, even Xiao Baiyu and the other two true spirit adepts had expressions of shock on their faces. One had to know that the strength that the Longhua ancestor had displayed since the Eastern Sea was enough to shock everyone. However, at this moment, this person, who had occupied the throne of the #1 expert in the cultivation world since his birth, was completely suppressed by the artifact spirit of a soul treasure. The few of them were shocked, thinking that if it were them, they would have already run far away, not daring to compete with them anymore. The Yuan family still had this kind of power hidden up their sleeves, which was indeed frightening. However, when they thought about the Seven Treasures Lightning Calabash's identity as the #1 divine artifact, the three of them seemed to have their own thoughts. However, in the end, they could only sigh that it was worthy of being the #1 divine artifact. However, the Longhua ancestor was a creature of this world, and this thunder rock was obviously summoned by Yuan Patian through a sacrifice from the Seven Treasures Lightning Calabash. This method obviously had a time limit. Although they didn't know how long it would last, as long as the Longhua ancestor could endure it, it would only be a matter of time before he won. However, from what the Longhua ancestor had said before, this thunder rock was most likely the artifact spirit of the Seven Treasures Lightning Calabash. If that was the case, then this thunder rock should be able to freely enter and exit the Seven Treasures Lightning Calabash. After all, it was only a pure yang spirit treasure, but it already had the ability to leave its body. However, in reality, Patriarch Longhua clearly did not intend to drag things out just like that. A voice that sounded like a roar and a groan rang out from within the seven-colored lightning, and the emerald green light was illuminated by the seven-colored lightning. Under the pressure of the Seven Treasures Lightning Calabash, the Longhua ancestor finally transformed into the true spirit of the Wood Flood Dragon. A huge green flood dragon that was 800 yards long broke through the Seven Treasures Lightning Calabash, and a sharp cry rang out. The thunder rock chased after it, and its pair of sharp claws grabbed onto the flood dragon's tail. At the same time, its sharp beak exploded with sharp lightning as it pecked at the flood dragon's body. However, just as the thunder rock was about to catch up, the wood flood dragon suddenly turned around and swung its green flood dragon tail upwards. The thunder rock flapped its wings with all its might in an attempt to dodge, but the spirit chi wind pressure and spatial tremors caused by the swing of the flood dragon tail instantly bombarded the lower abdomen of the thunder rock. At the same time, the body of the flood dragon flipped and avoided the huge claws of the thunder rock. At the same time, the upper body of the wood flood dragon that had turned around was already hovering in the air. A huge claw swept over, and the huge beak of the thunder rock also suffered a heavy blow. With a mournful cry, the thunder rock was instantly sent flying, and the scattered lightning flattened another 3 mountains in the surroundings. The divine arts practitioners that had already escaped far away had no choice but to retreat once more. At this moment, the true spirit wood flood dragon that the Long Hui ancestor had transformed into suddenly spoke and laughed loudly. Didn't everyone want to see the evidence? The evidence is about to arrive! Chapter 1505. Even the Long Hui ancestor couldn't do anything to the lightning ping that had rushed out from the 7 treasures lightning calabash after Yuan had sacrificed herself. Helpless, the Long Hui ancestor transformed into a true spirit and finally gained the upper hand in the battle with the lightning ping. However, the lightning ping was the crux of the 7 treasures lightning calabash, so the Long Hui ancestor obviously knew something. Long Hui ancestor who had transformed into the wood flood dragon true spirit laughed loudly. Everyone must have many doubts about what I said earlier, but now is the time for everyone to present the evidence. The rumbling echoed dozens of miles away, and all the great divine arts practitioners who had come to watch the battle heard what the Long Hui ancestor had said. They knew that the battle today had reached the most crucial moment, so they all focused their minds and waited in anticipation. The wood flood dragon true spirit that the Long Hui ancestor had transformed into swept up 3 miles of waves and pounced at the lightning ping with bared fangs and brandished claws. Lu Ping saw this and thought to himself, "Not good." This time, he didn't retreat, but turned into a flowing light and was about to escape. Xiao Baiyu and Origin Wine Lao's expressions also changed. However, the two of them were true spirit cultivators after all, so even though they could see the danger of the Long Hui ancestors' attack, they didn't panic like Lu Ping. Only the other true spirit cultivator saw the situation and shouted, "Not good! Everyone retreat quickly!" Hearing the true spirit cultivator's reminder, many of the great divine arts practitioners were naturally terrified. Those who reacted quickly retreated without thinking, and those who hesitated for a moment wanted to see what was going on, and as expected, they saw the result. There was a sudden silence in the middle of the battle between the two. Then, under everyone's incredulous gazes, a rainbow-colored light burst into the sky. The wood flood dragon tore the thunder rock in front of it into a ball of lightning and exploded. A circle of clear ripples formed by the spatial oscillation spread outwards. Several pure young experts were too slow, and their entire bodies were torn to shreds by the spreading spatial oscillation. Although some of them managed to escape with their lives, they were also injured. Lu Ping and the others looked up and saw that as soon as Patriarch Long Hui killed Lei Ping, the sky was already filled with dark clouds that were as dark as ink. Flashing with lightning, the dark clouds pressed down from the sky. Even Lu Ping and the others felt their hearts palpitating. Elemental Wine Laozu exclaimed, "Heavenly punishment! This is heavenly punishment!" Just as Elemental Wine Laozu exclaimed, the Long Hui ancestor's true spirit body suddenly broke through the void and came to the sky above the 7 treasures lightning calabash that was gradually turning illusory as if it was going to disappear at any time. The huge body swung with all its might, and a ball of lightning exploded, causing the entire heaven and earth to tremble. The purple calabash then turned from illusory to solid again. At the same time, over 10 bolts of lightning exploded from within and scattered in all directions. All the great divine arts practitioners in the surrounding void saw the situation and were afraid that they wouldn't be able to dodge in time. How could they still have the mood to intercept the lightning that shot out from the 7 treasures lightning calabash to see what was going on? Only Lu Ping, who had been paying attention to the Seven Treasures lightning calabash, could faintly see that the Seven Treasures lightning calabash had been smacked into the territory of the Yuan family by the Longhui ancestor. Then, the entire territory of the Yuan family turned into a sea of lightning. The Yuan family was finished! Before Lu Ping could sigh, one of the bolts of lightning that had exploded from the Seven Treasures lightning calabash rushed towards Lu Ping's direction. This bolt of lightning seemed to have a mind of its own as it actually changed its direction slightly and rushed towards Lu Ping. Lu Ping originally wanted to dodge, but at this moment, the Seven Treasures lightning calabash actually broke free from the suspended sea. If it wasn't for the dragon figure suppressing it again, it would have rushed out of the heart-core space. Lu Ping's heart stirred, and the Seven Treasures lightning calabash in his heart-core space flashed in his hand. At the same time, the bolt of purple lightning that was rushing towards Lu Ping also flashed and disappeared. Lu Ping couldn't care less about what had happened to the Seven Treasures lightning calabash in his heart-core space, because the purple lightning that had been brewing in the sky for a long time had broken through the void and landed on the wood dragon's head. The Longhui ancestor cried out in pain as its huge body suddenly fell down. Amidst the crackling sounds, dozens of emerald green scales flew everywhere. At the same time, there was a cloud of greenish-red blood that scattered in all directions. It was like a rain of blood in the sky. But before the rain of blood could fall, the scattered lightning that followed the sky's punishment roasted the blood into nothingness. The Longhui ancestor has finally attracted the sky's punishment. No, the sky's punishment was attracted by the thunder rock that was born in the Seven Treasures lightning calabash. How is this possible? Don't tell me that the Yuan clan really has the means to attract the sky's punishment. No matter how strong their means are, they still have to rely on the Seven Treasures lightning calabash. After all, it is the #1 divine weapon for the creation of the world. The Longhui ancestor is known as Jiao Doran's clone and has cultivated its own consciousness. Don't forget that when the world was created, Jiao Doran and Ping Doran were enemies. It's only natural that the Seven Treasures lightning calabash can suppress Jiao Doran's clone. At this moment, a bitter laugh came from the original Yuan clan's encampment, which had turned into a lake of lightning after the Seven Treasures lightning calabash smashed into the ground. Ha ha, Longhui, if you want to destroy my Yuan clan, you'll have to get through the sky's punishment first. If worst comes to worst, we'll just perish together. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge wave exploded in the Thunderlight Lake. Yuan Sungtian, who had been holding on for so long in the Thunderlight Lake, had finally run out of energy. The last pure yang expert of the Yuan family had finally fallen. At this moment, even Lu Ping felt terrified. Can the Yuan clan really attract the sky's punishment? Muffled thunder rumbled in the void. Obviously, the sky's punishment wasn't just the lightning that had descended earlier. Rumble! The Longhui ancestor, who had been smashed into the ground, directly flipped over a mountain. He smiled and said, I didn't expect that mixed hairy bird to leave such a trick for you. It seems like the old man has miscalculated. However, if you want to rely on the sky's punishment, you might not necessarily be able to drag the old man down with you. The huge body once again soared into the sky. The Longhui ancestor directly flew over the mountain range of Shang Mountain and was about to fly towards the eastern horizon. However, the sky's punishment obviously wouldn't let him go so easily. It was said that when the sky's punishment descended, it wouldn't stop until one side was dead. Since the heavens were created, no true spirit cultivator who had attracted the sky's punishment had been able to escape. The lightning of the sky's punishment was not only far more powerful than the pure yang lightning tribulation, it was also stronger than the one before. Just as the Longhui ancestor flew over the mountain range of Shang Mountain, another lightning of the sky's punishment came crashing down. The Wood Flood Dragon True Spirit let out another world-shaking howl. However, the Wood Flood Dragon didn't crash to the ground this time. Instead, it continued to fly towards the eastern horizon, as if it was trying its best to escape the sky's punishment. However, since the sky's punishment had descended, how could it be escaped just by flying away? No matter where Jiao Daoren was, the sky's punishment would descend on his head at any moment. Only Lu Ping, Origin Wine Laozu, and the rest were deep in thought. They guessed that the Longhui ancestors should be trying to rush back to the fallen secret land and rely on the myriad poisoned sky wall that Jiao Daoren had left behind to defend against the sky's punishment. Thinking until here, everyone's heart trembled. If the myriad poisoned sky wall could really defend against the sky's punishment, one had to know that this guess wasn't impossible. At this moment, the Longhui ancestor who had already escaped to the horizon shouted to all the great divine arts practitioners around Shang Mountain after blocking the lightning of the sky's punishment. Yuan family has been wiped out and the 7 treasure thunder calabash has been severely injured by the old man. The secret that the Yuan family had been protecting since the heavens were created is about to be revealed. Everyone, it's best if you don't go too far and witness one of the biggest conspiracies since the heavens were created. After saying that, another miserable cry came from the horizon. This time, the Longhui ancestor couldn't block it forcefully, and his huge body was smashed to the ground by the sky's punishment. However, he immediately rushed back into the sky and continued to fly towards the east. Even though the words of the Longhui ancestor had moved quite a number of great divine arts practitioners, everyone left Shang mountain range at the same time. Even though most of them didn't leave, they were all prepared for the conspiracy that the Longhui ancestor had mentioned. At this moment, Lu Ping finally had a little bit of time to check the purple lightning that had shot out from the 7 treasure thunder calabash, and was then swallowed by the lightning calabash in Lu Ping's hardcore space. However, at this moment, the lightning lake that had formed from the encampment of the Yuan family because the 7 treasure thunder calabash had been smashed to the ground by the Longhui ancestor was sinking rapidly. All the great divine arts practitioners who saw this phenomenon felt as if they were facing a great enemy. Chapter 1506. The Longhui ancestor withstood the heavenly punishment and smashed the 7 thunder treasures calabash deep into the mountain where the Yuan clan was located. The entire Yuan clan's territory turned into a huge lightning lake. After that, even though forefather Longhui braved the wrath of the heavenly punishment and left for the eastern sea, the powerful beings who were still lingering in the air near the Yuan clan's base did not wait for them to exchange glances with each other before they saw the Thunder Light Lake rapidly sinking. A sense of uneasiness that seemed familiar to them rose from the lake, quickly spreading throughout the entire Shang Mountain area. While everyone was puzzled, Lu Ping's divine sense entered the 7 treasures Thunder Gourd's core space. The 7 treasures Thunder Gourd, which had been alive and kicking since the appearance of the real heaven-splitting divine artifact, calmed down after Lu Ping absorbed the purple lightning into it. Lu Ping's divine will manifested in his core space, and he suddenly discovered that something seemed to be brewing in the 7 thunder treasures calabash in front of him. His mind sank into it, and he saw that the purple lightning from before had manifested into a small bird. It was the miniature form of the heaven-shrouding thunder rock from before. This surprised Lu Ping a lot, but there was a trace of inexplicable excitement in his heart because this 7 treasure thunder calabash was also a treasure that Lu Ping had carefully nurtured with his quintessential essence. Therefore, he could clearly feel that the 7 treasure thunder calabash was undergoing a rebirth after containing the purple lightning. This is the origin of thunder, it's definitely the origin of thunder. Thinking of the description in the Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, Lu Ping could not hide the excitement in his heart. If Lu Ping, who had obtained the Samling 5 Elements leaf, had cultivated from the 1st realm to the 7th realm, there was no obvious bottleneck in condensing the 7 attribute origins to the perfection stage. All that was left was the accumulation of quintessential essence. Then, the origin of thunder could greatly reduce the difficulty of condensing the origin of thunder in the core space after Lu Ping fused the 7 attributes. In other words, the origin of thunder was originally no weaker than the Samling 5 Elements leaf. Although the former could not help a cultivator condense the 7 attributes in one fell swoop, the difficulty of condensing the origin of thunder was even more difficult than condensing the 7 attribute origins. Although the origin of thunder in the 7 treasure thunder calabash was extremely thin and small, it was the fundamental reason for the qualitative change in the 7 treasure thunder calabash. Once the 7 treasure thunder calabash in Lu Ping's hands reached perfection with this origin of thunder, the 7 treasure thunder calabash would be able to collect the thunder and lightning between heaven and earth, and use it to nourish the origin of thunder, slowly strengthening it. In the future, when Lu Ping's cultivation reached the 7th true spirit realm and he successfully condensed the 7 attribute origins, this origin of thunder would be the biggest factor for Lu Ping to break through to the 8th true spirit realm. In fact, Ping Doran's original life source treasure should have been the spirit light 5 elements fan inherited from the Endless Mountains peacock royalty. The reason why Ping Doran wanted to refine the 7 treasure thunder calabash was to condense a trace of the origin of thunder to help him cross the threshold of the 8th true spirit realm. He never thought that the 7 treasure thunder calabash would become a method for Ping Doran to suppress Jiao Doran. The 7 treasure thunder calabash became famous in this side of the world and was regarded as the #1 god artifact for opening the heavens, but people forgot that it was originally a tool for Ping Doran to improve his cultivation. Perhaps later people did not know of this matter, but as the 7th patriarch of heaven opening and Ping Doran's sworn enemy, Jiao Doran, naturally knew about it. While Lu Ping was immersed in the excitement of obtaining a trace of the origin of thunder, there were cries of surprise coming from the void around him. Lu Ping was startled, and when he looked up, he saw that the original Yuan family residence had already disappeared from the Thunderlight Lake. At this time, the Thunderlight Lake slowly sank into the ground and disappeared. At this time, where the original Yuan family residence was located, a deep, pitch-black hole with a diameter of 3 to 5 miles gradually appeared. Rumbling sounds of thunder and explosions rang out from the deep hole, and as soon as the flickering light flashed in the deep hole, it was swallowed by the darkness inside. There were even shrill cries that could not be heard clearly because the deep hole was too deep. The cultivators wanted to probe deeper with their divine sense, but they suddenly found that once their divine sense entered, it would disappear. This kind of disappearance was not due to the shielding of divine sense, but a kind of divine sense being cut and devoured. Even the many pure yang experts present, who were all top-notch existences in the current cultivation world, suffered greatly in front of this deep hole. Some could not help but let out miserable cries. Even the 3 celestial spirits shook their heads and groaned as their expressions changed. On the contrary, Lu Ping was a little slow because he was checking the changes in the 7 treasures thunder calabash. After discovering what happened to everyone, he naturally would not repeat the same mistake with his divine sense. What is this? Could this be the secret and evidence that the Longhui ancestor mentioned Yuan family had hidden since heaven opening? No, this aura is not right. Fellow Taoists, do you sense anything? Look, this black aura, this black aura. Finally, a shrill roar broke the silence that everyone was in disbelief. This is Mara's F*King aura. This is Mara's aura. There is Mara's aura under the Yuan family's encampment. Is the Longhui ancestor trying to tell us that the Yuan family is related to Mara's calamity? The truth is right in front of us. What vanguard against Mara? This Yuan family is actually a thief crying thief. That might not be the case. Perhaps the Yuan family has been suppressing this place where Mara appears. It might not be impossible. After all, the Yuan family had maintained a good reputation in the cultivation world for tens of thousands of years. Even now, there were still people who spoke up for the Yuan family. Impossible! If that's the case, then why did the Yuan family keep it a secret? It's better to have the help of the entire cultivation world than to suppress the Yuan family alone. Indeed, this is not something to be ashamed of. If word of this gets out, it will only increase the reputation of the Yuan family in the cultivation world. The Yuan family's encampment has always been located in this Shang mountain ever since heaven opening was heaven opening. In other words, this devil's den has always existed since heaven opening was heaven opening. Why did they keep it a secret? If that's the case, then they must be plotting something. Then, where is the evidence that the Longhua ancestor mentioned? Even if the Yuan family is really related to Mara's calamity, what does this have to do with the heaven-opening conspiracy that he mentioned? The pure yang cultivator who spoke up for the Yuan family saw that he was about to become the target of public criticism, and quickly changed the topic to clear his name. All right, don't argue anymore. At this moment, after the Longhua ancestor left with the heavenly punishment, the three true spirit cultivators who had been quietly watching the situation could no longer remain calm. Xiao Baiyu shouted, and the pure yang cultivators all held their breaths. This is not the time to discuss the Yuan family's conspiracy. Something is about to come out from this deep cave. If it really is the secret cave that Mara has appeared in, then it will be a disaster. That's right. Ancestor Origin Wine continued. All of you are top-rate existences in this world. I presume that Ancestor Longhua used all sorts of methods to gather all of us here for the sake of his current scheme. However, we can't avoid it at this moment. Chapter 1507. After the two celestial spirits Laozu spoke, the other celestial spirit cultivator summoned one of his natal spiritual treasures. It hovered around him and was ready to fight, directly showing his attitude to the many powerful beings present. Everyone present naturally understood this logic. Moreover, the great divines in the void around Shang Mountain had gathered almost half of the pure yang cultivators in the entire cultivation world. If even they could not stop the impending demon Luo calamity, then the entire cultivation world would definitely suffer a heavy blow once again. Lu Ping also summoned the sword of the true spirit Moli. Although it was unknown if the Longhua ancestor was still alive, as long as he was not present, Lu Ping could unscrupulously summon his natal flying sword to defend against the enemy. Lu Ping's sword of the true spirit was made from Jiao Doran's horn. Lu Ping had always been secretly afraid of the Longhua ancestor, who was the inheritor of Jiao Doran's bloodline and the receiver of part of his memory. Not only the sword of the true spirit, but also the dragon sculpture on the 9-dragon bell, Lu Ping did not bring it to Donghai because he was afraid that the Longhua ancestor would see through it and covet it. The flickering lightning in the deep cave became dimmer, and the shrill cries gradually disappeared. The pitch-black fog on the surface of the deep cave became thicker, and it was obvious that something was flying out. Lu Ping and the other pure yang cultivators formed a loose circle around the deep cave, as if they were facing a great enemy. Roar! Even Lu Ping and the others couldn't help but frown at the terrifying divine sense impact. However, it also confirmed their suspicions that the one in the deep cave was indeed Mo Luo. Such a powerful divine sense impact could only be produced by 3 to 5 heavenly demons working together to cast the soul-devouring technique. 3 clouds of even thicker black mist suddenly rushed out of the deep cave. The terrifying pressure emitted by the surging black mist clearly revealed the identity of the sky demons. Along with the 3 sky demons were the 12 Asuras who guarded the sky demons. Mara's army of this scale would cause a disaster no matter where they appeared. With 3 Skyfiends and 12 Asuras joining forces, even 3 pure yang cultivators would have no choice but to escape or perish. However, they just had to appear in front of 3 celestial spirits, Laozu, and 16 or 17 pure yang cultivators at this time and place. Both sides attacked at the same time. The 3 true spirit cultivators used their own methods, suppressing 3 heavenly demons in one fell swoop. The other 12 Asura did not wait for them to merge with the heavenly demons before they were divided by the surrounding pure yang cultivators. Lu Ping attacked almost immediately after the 3 true spirit cultivators attacked. The true spirit sword activated a dark blue sword chi that tore through the void, and before the Asura could even react, it was killed by him in one move. Back when Lu Ping was still a mid-Dharma adept, he almost used all his methods when he encountered the Asura. He fought with all his might in a life-and-death situation, and only then could he kill one Asura. Because of this, he had suffered quite a lot of injuries. Now, an Asura was no match for Lu Ping at all. Among the pure yang cultivators, other than Lu Ping, no one else could kill an Asura as easily as Lu Ping did. Even though every pure yang cultivator had a decisive advantage against the Asura, the pure yang cultivators didn't stand a chance against the Asura. Although Lu Ping's methods were unintentional, it had more or less aroused the competitiveness of the pure yang cultivators present. Although the North Sea Water Sword Immortal was famous in the world, many of the pure yang cultivators present had been famous for a long time. Naturally, they did not want to be left too far behind by Lu Ping. After cutting melons and vegetables, 12 Asura were killed one after another. However, the 3 true spirit cultivators were much faster than them. Almost at the same time that Lu Ping killed the Asura, the 3 heavenly demons were unable to retaliate against the suppression of the 3 true spirit cultivators. Very quickly, the soul-devouring black fog was shaved off, revealing a pale face and a body that was not much different from a normal person's. There's blood. Why is there blood? Xiao Baiyu casually pointed out a sword sheath that could cut through space. It was not inferior to the pure yang flying sword that Lu Ping controlled. In an instant, the Asura's body was pierced through by Xiao Baiyu. However, after the heavenly demon dissipated the soul-devouring black fog around its body, it revealed a bloody body in front of everyone. How was this possible? Everyone had a common understanding that Mara was born from the source energy of this world. Once he was killed, he would turn into spiritual energy and return to the source energy. Why would there be blood in the body of this heavenly demon? Could it be that this was not a heavenly demon, but an existence similar to a heavenly demon? In an instant, the Yuanjiu Laozu and the other true spirit cultivator had also finished off their opponents. The heavenly demon that was killed by the Yuanjiu Laozu was still covered in blood after the soul-devouring black fog dissipated. However, the heavenly demon that was killed by the other true spirit cultivator was like an ordinary Mara, and its body began to vaporize and dissipate. At this time, not only did the 3 true spirit cultivator know that something was amiss, even the pure yang cultivators around the cave had noticed something was amiss. Blood-curdling howls could still be heard faintly coming from the bottomless cave. It was obvious that there were quite a number of devil luos hidden in this cave. However, it was obvious that the group had killed more than 10 heavenly devils and asuras as if they were chopping melons and vegetables, causing the existences in the deep cave to not dare to take the risk and rush out again. The surging soul-devouring fog was still spreading out from the deep cave, but after coming out of the deep cave for a few meters, it was suppressed by the surrounding powerful beings, preventing it from spreading. In just a moment, it had already gathered into a pitch-black fog. Looks like we are about to have a chance to figure out this ancient mystery. Yuanjiu Laozu sighed slightly and said, "What do fellow Xiao and fellow Xiang say?" Xiao Baiyu smiled and did not say anything, but the true spirit cultivator that was called fellow Xiao by Yuanjiu Laozu said with a smile, "Since we have already come to this step, there is no reason for us to retreat. Regardless of whether this Yuan family is related to the conspiracy that the Longhui ancestor spoke of, at the very least, the Mara calamity that occurs every 1,000 years is related to the Yuan family. Which one of us here has not experienced the Mara calamity? Which one of your relatives, friends, ancestors have not fallen in the Mara calamity? We cannot avoid the secret of this deep cave, we are duty-bound." Xiao Baiyu loudly praised. Fellow Xiang said well, that Longhui ancestor's original intention might be to point out this secret to us. It must be known that this Longhui ancestor would rather take the risk of being punished by the heavens than deceive us. Everyone, this might be a chance to solve the Mara calamity once and for all. We have to go down this deep cave even if we don't want to. Could it be that we want our juniors and sect disciples to continue to suffer this calamity that occurs once every 1,000 years? A voice suddenly sneered. Although the old man disdains to listen to Xiao Baiyu's words, Fellow Taoist Yuan Jiao and fellow Taoist Xiang's words are extremely reasonable. If we want to go down this deep cave, the Purple Sun Palace will be one of us. The one who spoke was obviously a pure yang cultivator from the Purple Sun Palace. As soon as he finished speaking, pure yang cultivators from the other 3 sacred grounds, Wuxing School, Lingyun Valley, and Skyward Pavilion also responded. After that, Lu Ping and a few other pure yang human cultivators also expressed their desire to go down and find out what was going on. Hee, since fellow Taoist Xiang is here, there's no harm in me going down and taking a look. The one who spoke was a pure yang demon cultivator from the great spiritual ape clan. So it's General Ho Yuan Poyu. I wonder how fellow Taoist Pekong is doing? Xiao Baiyu was asking about the former general of the great spiritual ape clan, Yuan Pekong. This pure yang cultivator from the great spiritual ape clan in front of him was obviously the General Ho. Yuan Poyu chuckled and said, "That fellow is doing very well. Thank you for your concern, fellow Taoist Xiao." Xiao Baiyu nodded his head and didn't say anything else. Soon after, there were other pure yang cultivators of the demon race that responded. Almost all the divine arts practitioners that had come to watch the battle stayed behind. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.